1 countdown.
We all look scared.
I know. All right, folks. Well, welcome back to another episode of Put a Stamp on It podcast. And me, Jose Ariano, with Mr. Gary Frosso and our guest of the day, Mr. Eduardo Farfan. Thank you, man. Bud.
So, man, I'm really excited about this episode, everybody. And if you're tuning in to watch us again, don't forget to follow us on Put a Stamp on It podcast, just like it is the name, on IG, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, anything that's a social media website, you can get us on there too as well. Also on any of the Spotify, iTunes, and anything that hosts podcasts. It's really easy to use. Subscribe to us. Leave your comments and suggestions and any questions you may have. So again, man, I'm really excited to have this guest. This is actually our first guest that we've had. We're going to have one of many on the episodes. And, you know, I talked to Jose and I really wanted to bring Ed on board because, I mean, I've known Ed because I've been in real estate for 5 years, going on 5, you're going on 4. And I think I've known you probably for about 3 of it, maybe almost 4 of it. Right. Mm-hmm. Kind of, we all worked at the same broker. That's kind of how we all met. But my thoughts are on podcasts. A lot of times you're always getting these people that are so beyond either successful, but or it's in a sense of just so far above what I think a lot of us can relate to. Right. And what I mean, it's like they sold 100,000 houses and they're making 5.5 million a month, and you're just kind of like, I get it, and it's motivating, but I felt like when we made this podcast, Jose, and Ed, I wanted to bring people on here that could be just the great person, a hero, a successful in their own right, that's just sitting next to you. Yeah, like an everyday guy that just has accomplishments and goals, not for everyone, not to please anybody else, society, but actually just for their own personal fulfillment. Right? Yeah, and it's somebody that you can just relate to, somebody you can just, you can just easily connect to, and people that are here locally that you can actually just connect to if you need to. Yep. So with Mr. Farfan, Eduardo Farfan, again, thanks for being here and hanging out with us on this podcast.
Thank you guys, man. I appreciate the invitation, especially the first one, episode 17, my lucky number, as you guys know.
Yeah, it worked out that way. So just a little bit about Ed, just before we dive into things and get into this again. So Ed's been in real estate, a realtor since 2002. Correct. From Ventura, Fillmore. Then came over to Bakersfield and started selling real estate in 2003. He's a vegan, an active vegan since 2012, and we'll get into that as well. You're 42?
43 November.
43 November, but he looks like he's 31. He's participated in Ironman challenges. I mean, I probably got that wrong. You'll go into that. Different types of marathons, the 50-mile Ray Miller. Yeah, marathon. Yeah. So, I think something that a lot of us can connect to, and I mean, especially with, and we'll get into our next episode, but, I'm 36, I'm 39. And it's almost like something just clicked, like, hey, let's just go sign up for a Spartan challenge. Yeah. Let's start pushing ourselves. And I was always intrigued by you doing things like that. What kind of got you into that? So. And that's the thing, is because even, I don't know, like the older I'm getting, like I'm realizing I can do all kinds of shit. I can do more physical stuff, right? Right. And I know from when you did the Ironman, I was like, holy shit, he's like 4 years old and this, and like, because I read up on everything that it takes. I'm like, makes you go home at night and sleep. And like, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what the fuck? I need to challenge myself. So then when Gary's like, hey, let's do a Spartan race right away, no hesitation, I'm like, let's do it. Oh, we got on board. Yeah, quick. Same day. Yeah.
Well, you guys might get hooked, man, because that's how I started with the Volkswagen back in, I think it was like 2010, 2012. Before that, I was never an athlete. I never did any sports in school. Yeah. I never actually, I joined the Fillmore High School soccer team my junior year, but I only went to one practice and one game, and I was like, I'm done. So take us to kind of the beginning. If you can't give us kind of like a cliff note, maybe just your beginners, any siblings, and just kind of you being younger and through Ventura and everything. Oh, absolutely. Take it way back. My parents, both my parents are from Michoacan. They moved to Burbank when they first moved out here.
Where's Michoacan?
Michoacan, Mexico.
Oh, Mexico.
So they moved out here, and my dad, he became a baker. So he started working in bakeries, moved up in ranks really quick. He had the opportunity to buy a business in Fillmore, Panadería La Única. So him and my uncle, my tío Tacho, they partnered up and they purchased that in Fillmore. And that's when we moved to Fillmore. That's pretty much where I grew up. At that point, I think I was like around 2 years old. And so I grew up in a Mexican bakery. So eating all those foods,
man,
the
that's the
carnitas,
the elotes. Did you make the
yeah,
elotes? Oh man, those are the best.
everything.
Yeah.
You name it. And then being the owner's kid, I walk into the kitchen. What's anybody
Help
else?
yourself.
Yeah. Help yourself.
Well, in our culture, health isn't really kind of like the forefront. You just kind of,
right.
It's so good. All the food, everything down from the sweets to just everything that mom, grandparents cooking. And when you're with family, you guys agree that you can't really turn down food. Right. You almost look bad if you're turned down food.
Yeah, actually, they have the opposite perspective where it's like, you're not healthy unless you finish everything on the plate.
Right.
And they know that plate, So they're like, hey, don't leave anything on the plate. You got to eat it all. So that's their version of somewhat like in the Mexican culture, it's almost seeing you like gordito. That means healthy.
My dad used to always say that. You're healthy. Yeah.
Solid guy, So
yeah.
So it kind of could create problems for us in the future, because we have that misconception. But anyhow, I grew up Fillmore the majority of my life, and then I think at 25, I was the last one to leave my household. My brother, my sister. Growing up in my home, it was a little difficult because I was kind of like the black sheep.
Also,
in the sense that, like, for my dad, everything was surrounded was about school.
Okay.
He came from Mexico to provide a better life. He's always wanted to get to school, and unfortunately for me, I didn't really fit into the school system here. Very distracted. I still remember. Funny thing is, I remember getting voted most forgetful in 5th grade.
Most forgetful.
But
in your face, 5th grade, he remembers.
But also very distracted. It just kind of like it didn't seem to catch my attention. I remember another parent-teacher conference where the teachers are like, hey, he's a good kid, he tries, but if he's doing his homework or his work and a fly flies by, then there goes his attention. That's over. He's over there chasing his little fly with squirrel. Squirrel. So I grew up kind of like the black sheep because my sister would graduate like above 4.0 average.
Oh man, you had to feel
then there was me. And then my younger brother, which also like another genius and above 4.0 average. So I was kind of like the black sheep of the family, but we can get into that a little bit later. But so I grew up in Fillmore, moved to Ventura at 25. A buddy of mine house, he's like, hey, he's ready for a roommate. You want to move in with me? Like, sure, And I was the last one out because my sister went to UCSB, my brother went to UCSD. I went to ITT. So it was a trade school, I saw something's better than nothing.
Something. I just went for one day and walked out of BC. There's no ITT or UDD after that one.
So I went there and I got my associates in electronics and stuff, and was working in that industry for a while, Camarillo.
Was that what you wanted to get involved in, or how'd you end up just getting associates in that?
Just because I got accepted, because at that point, like I said, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Maybe like a late bloomer, I think, more than anything. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I graduated young, graduated at 17. It's just the way my birthday lies. So I wasn't really ready. I didn't know my dad wanted me to do something. So I was like, well, I like fiddling with things. I like, I like exploring. I like electronics. So I'm a YTT, going to take the test, they accepted me. So that's what I'm doing. So went there, was working in that industry for a while. Moved to Ventura 25, and then I just noticed something because I was like, going to the same. Remember, I just said that I'm not really like the type that can sit somewhere, right? So that job required you to do that because one of the places I was working, they was it Dowkey Microwave. They used to build, or they probably still do build, RF switches for like high communications, like satellites and airplanes and all that stuff. So and I was the IQ guy. Not the IQ, the quality control guy. So they would bring us like a tray, like a 500 switches or whatever. And they're like, here, you got to test a certain amount. If a certain amount fails, and you got to reject the whole batch, you got to do it. And you got to sit there, you're like, like over and over and over every day, after day, the same thing. And at that point, like I was 19, and I would look at the engineers, because, everybody's goal is to be the engineer,
Right.
And I'm sure if you get to a certain level of engineering, it's like you could you obviously make a lot of money,
right?
Very successful.
Yeah.
But I just remember at that time, I would look at the people that were there, some of them, and I would hear some of their struggles and what they were talking about, and maybe not think about it. It might have been not necessarily like financial, but just maybe that I don't know what it was, but they didn't seem happy. And I just remember thinking, I'm gonna work here like over year after year to move up to that and still like have that feel like you're stuck,
Yeah.
What'd you say? So I'm out.
Well, I mean, just think about the fact that you being 19 and you have the foresight to see that, like, this is what I'm going to work to is to be unhappy.
Right.
Like, you know, it's the money's there, but and you don't really hear a lot of people say that. A lot of people, their first thoughts are, well, I'm going to work my way up to this position because it's going to give me benefits and it's going to give me money. No one ever says, well, it's because I'm going to have more time or I'm going to be happier for any particular reason.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I've never seen it that way, but I think it's just because of the way I grew up, and I always like compared to my brother and my sister. It was like, okay, they're doing it because they're getting better grades or go off to university, and I was kind of like I said, I don't know, at some degree in my mind, I always felt like I was less than not supposed to succeed because I got drilled in my mind since I was a kid. You have to go to school to be successful. You have to go to school to be successful. You have to go to school to become a doctor, lawyer, whatever it's going to be. So I think mentally is like, I started growing up. And out of that, my childhood thinking that, it's like, okay, well, I'm always going to be down here, I'm not really.
And you know what, man? That's funny because, and maybe it is a Mexican culture because we talked about it before on a podcast. Like, I felt like, sometimes in my culture, my family they would guilt me, like, hey, if you're not going to school, you ain't shit.
Right.
Right. So then you felt that as well?
So I got that since I was, because like I said, I was getting like average grades since I was little. I was competing with these two like geniuses, it's like, I remember sometimes I would talk my sister out of shutting report card with my dad. And she's all happy, she got like straight A's, and I'm like,
hang on to that.
I'm like, please, just hide this one, because I got a D on this one or whatever. And she'd be like, she actually did. Like I remember, at least once she did. But so that's so I always kind of had that sense, and I guess looking at it now, I did have the foresight to see that where I'm like, I don't really want to do this, so. And at that point, I was still 19. I was still living with my parents.
Yeah, right.
So my dad said, "Well, you can stay here as long as you gotta be in school."
Yeah.
So as long as you're here, as long as you're enrolled into a college, you can it's a junior college. So I enrolled back into a college, and then at that point, I went completely the opposite because I was kind of like a very reserved kid growing up. So like I never really had like up until my junior high year, I never really had like a solid group of friends. Most people have like, I had one friend, I remember Jesus Perez, and he kind of changed after elementary school. So junior high, I was kind of like by myself. And I knew a lot of people and I would talk to a lot of people, but it's not like, you're my friend, this is my group,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a drifter. I would go hang out with the homies sometimes. I'd go hang out with the jocks. I'd go hang out with the party boys.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like bouncing around everywhere.
Mixing it up.
Yeah, mixing it up.
Okay.
So always a little socially awkward and stuff. So to go from where I was, and I just made the leap of faith to go sell cars, which is kind of like you would imagine like a highly social person, somebody that interacts.
How'd you get into selling cars? Like, what made you get into that?
Yeah. How did I get into it? I remember I was, I must have just come across the opportunity. Oh, I remember how. It was back then my girlfriend, she used to work at a chiropractor's office. Mm-hmm. And I believe the guy that used to work with her, he became either sales manager or something with automation in Oxnard. Mm-hmm. So then I think I heard about it that way. And what I think I liked about automation and why I went there is because their model was, we're going to sell the prices at, this is a set price. So there's no negotiating. We're not going to hire.
CarMax.
You like,
okay.
I guess
I think the original, or they were the original CarMax. I'm just.
So I went there. So, I went from like being just like a very regimented, like steady paycheck to going out there and being like, I'm going to try car sales.
Yeah, commissions.
Yeah, commission.
Yeah.
So they paid you, minimum wage plus commission and stuff.
What were your first thoughts of it?
It was not really, because like I said, I don't know why I got pulled to it. I don't even know why I decided to go, because it was completely opposite of my personality.
Yeah, you were still reserved.
So, but when I went there, like I was trying, but I was still like really nervous inside to talk to people.
Yeah.
So I tried to sell stuff and stuff like that. So that didn't pan out too well, not because of me, but because of the I remember like that when I finally was getting the rhythm of it, right?
Yeah.
One weekend I sold 3 cars. I was like, I was all happy, because when I sold 3 cars on the weekend, we went to our Monday meeting. They're like, the shop's getting closed down.
Oh, they
were like, what? Yeah, so
you shouldn't be selling at the price.
Yeah, you put the shutter with those 3 sales. Now, it was an interesting story. I remember what happened is, I don't remember the exact details, but it's something along the line where the person that was in charge of purchasing the cars was supposed to go out there and get like the cars at a great deal, right? So they would give them, like, let's say, from what I understood, from what I call, let's just say, I don't remember the numbers, but they give you like 50 grand, right? All right, here's 50 grand, go buy the inventory.
Yeah.
So he'd go out there and shop, and he would buy them, but he would buy them like an inflated plate, or he would buy them at some price. Then he would sell them to the dealership at an inflated price, and then like him and the manager
okay,
or something from what I recall. So at one point, I guess like they brought in managers and stuff like that, and there was a bunch of files of like cars that were already released, but the loans weren't funded. So I know there's a lot of people out there that were driving for months with no
a little bit of prelude to real estate, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, that was like my little stint inside of car sales.
So you're in your early 20s at this time.
Yeah.
Okay. So then,
still going to VC, trying to find out,
So how'd you get into real estate?
I'll get to that.
Was that like naturally just kind of?
I sold cars. Hey, I'm selling the wrong stuff. Hey,
That's
let me sell a house.
Well, that's how I was. I was selling eyeglasses, and I'm working real hard to sell eyeglasses. I'm selling the wrong product. I can make more money selling something that pays me more at a higher sales price.
Yeah, see, with me,
I was like, what I thought of.
Same thing. I was working FedEx 12 years. I thought, I'll do something else.
I was like, I'm selling the wrong
Nothing
product.
to do with sales, though.
I'm like, I need to sell dope, or I need to sell a house. I'm like, I ain't good with dope, so.
No, so from there, after it got closed down, I was like, all right, what do I do next? So one of my buddies, everybody scattered to other dealerships, right? Traditional dealerships.
Everybody brings everybody.
Yeah, so my buddy, Tony de Los Santos, he went to go work for Mercury right there in Oxnard. And he's like, yeah, man, come down, get your job. Car sales people, they pick up anybody.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, so I went, applied. But that was very short-lived because that was like, one of the things I don't like is to see burning people or seeing people get burned.
Yeah.
And that dealership I remember is like, traditional, like typical stuff, like one guy would get like, and what was sad about it is that Mercury is usually generally like an older demographic that buys the Mercuries, right? So I think it was like Lincoln Mercury, so it's like older people.
Yeah.
So I remember one guy, like he sold a car to a couple. Obviously they trusted him because he was like part of another department, so people knew him. Right?
Yeah.
So when they came in to see him, they're like, "Oh, you sell cars now?" "Yeah." So pretty much like he sold him a car like like full pop or even over and stuff, and like he came to the back.
Turned around bragging about it, huh?
Blah blah blah. And I was like looking at them, like, man, that's not cool, dude. It's like it's an older couple that trusted you, and you're over here laughing about making extra money or burning them or whatever the case is. We can't say you burn them because they're aware what they sold, but still, yeah. So I was like, you know what? And I remember sitting like in the back of my last test drive that I did. This older couple were driving, and I was sitting in the back seat, like trying to talk about the car, but. At one point, I was sitting there like, I was like, oh, Cuidado, dude. I don't know if you guys ever watched Rain Man. Not Rain Man, Man on Fire. Sorry.
Yeah.
Remember Man on Fire at the very last scene where he delivers to a girl and like they make this change and sitting in the car, he's like passing away in the back. Like, she tells you now?
That was you?
Yeah, that was me. I was sitting back there. I was like, man, this is not for me. I can't, I can't take myself to to try to cheat people out of money. So I did that. I finished that
like, hurry up,
test drive.
Tours over.
Yeah, I was just go back. I just finished that test drive, and I was like, you know what, I quit. So I booked it. So from there, I worked at the gym, did sales in gym. I absolutely love that job because ever since even though I was never athletic in high school, at 19, my buddy, the Suarez brothers, Marcos Miguel, invited me to go to 24-hour fitness in Oxford, and that was my first taste of working out. Taking all the supplements and getting like big and stuff and getting compliments. And I'm like, I'm digging this, So that's where I started like liking fitness. So when I was going to VC, I was working at Maverick. Well, back then it was Gym Masters, and it turned into Bulls Gym, and now it's creating Maverick. So I absolutely loved it, man. Talking to people about fitness and signing them up and stuff like that. And it was like a really fun job.
You found your calling at that point, sort of?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was still sales, but it was just something that I enjoyed, so it was easy for me to sell.
Right.
So like I could walk the gym and just get a tour, and like the ladies that were interviewing me, they're okay, do a tour. So I right away just started talking to them, making them laugh, and they were like laughing at every, and they're like, "Oh, you got the job right."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's cool,
Yeah.
But it's because something I enjoyed.
Right.
So went to VC, was going to work at the gym, going to VC right next door because they're right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I had applied for, at that point I was done with VC and I had applied to go to San Diego State. Okay. So I applied to San Diego State, got my acceptance letter. I was like, man, it's dope, I'm all right. Even went to buy a truck because I was like, I'm going to have to haul my back stuff back and forth.
Make sure you didn't get ripped off.
Yeah.
I want 500 above invoice. That's it, bro.
So I actually went all the way. I remember because I went all the way to Universal Nissan, right in front of Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's why you took
took
forever to buy that Toyota 4Runner. You researched the crap out of it.
Yeah, I actually did. It took me like 2.5 years. To purchase it.
So you ain't getting me.
It took me 2.5 years first because I was still in the lease, and then afterwards I was like just doing a lot of research, and then they were gonna upgrade it from the 2018 model to 2019. So I was just waiting.
Hey, so do you really feel like you get a better deal when you go out of town to buy a car versus here local?
Not necessarily, but in this case I had to because it's the Pro series is very it's rare. It's rarer than all the other ones. So only they told me here that they're only gonna get 6 for the year, and they had already got 3 of them in, and I was waiting on one, waiting, and I don't know what happened. It got stuck at the docks because those they still build them in Japan, and then they just finish them off here, and then they deliver them out to the dealerships. So they were just waiting, and then finally I was just like, let me look around. It's taking forever. And I found one in Vicinity that's been sitting there for a month. I'm like, how the heck is it sitting for a month? Yeah. So I called up, and those they actually try to they tack on $5,000 or more because they're so rare. And people will pay it. But I told the guy, I go, hey, you know what? They're gonna get me a bigger stroke for at cost, or not at cost, but at sticker price. So for those, it's sticker price or above. So it's not like I got a great deal. It's obviously great deals in the sense for
a good deal for you is what it is, man. Yeah. I don't like those.
So I talked him down to they had it at 5,000 over. I talked him down to 500 over. Okay. They said 1,000, then I was like, I saw my wife and she's like, you really gonna lose the car you really want for $1,000? I'm like, I call him back. I'm like, I text him.
No, that's right. It hangs up. He's all wait. They'll call back.
I know how it works.
So we were still good at 1,000 over, but I just text one more text him off 500 over, and I'll go to my center and I'll pick it up. They're like, right, 500.
Yeah.
All right.
So, still got the little last word. Still makes you feel good. That's what you want. You just want the last word.
People want to make sure they negotiate something. Yeah. That's for sure.
But going back to the story. So I graduated, or I went to BC. I got accepted.
Bought a truck.
I got the truck. Is getting everything ready, right, to move to San Diego. So on my acceptance letter, it said we must have your transcripts by August or whatever it was, towards the end of summer. I was like, all right, cool. So, and I had a full semester, the last semester. So I was like, you know what? Since they don't need the transcript, so then I'm gonna drop a class and take it in the summer, a 2-week summer class. So I did that and then sent over my transcripts, and they reviewed them, and they're like, all your classes needed to be done by the end of the spring, but since you took this one summer class, we were revoking your acceptance.
Oh,
so I was like,
dang.
Man,
I was like, everything.
Yeah, I was all ready to go, man. I had a little bit of money saved up. Yeah. At that point, the most I've ever had in my bank, and I was like, dang, what am I gonna do? Well, I guess I'll just apply for the spring because I was gonna go in for fall, and I'll just apply for spring and then just move on and move forward. Yeah. So I stayed working at the gym, reapplied, and they're like, sorry, our demand went so high this semester that we had to increase the GPA, and I missed it by fractions, 0.03 or whatever it was. And I was all like, damn, do it again. So I missed out again for San Diego State. So at that point, I was just like, you know what? By that point, also, I was already working at Verizon. We opened up the Verizon corporate store in Oxnard. So I was working at Verizon sales as well, and I was just like,
damn, I didn't know they had so much in common. Jim or something. Jim, Verizon. I know some cars though, but I was that close to cars. Yeah. We have the same hair.
10 years ago. Yeah. So I was working at Verizon. At that point, I was like, dang, what am I going to do? By that point, I was kind of defeated. I was like, maybe some reason why I'm not leaving. Why I didn't get accepted. So at that point, my sister's best friend, Chole, her brothers did real estate and mortgage in Oxnard, the Montelomo brothers. And so one of the things I wanted to study in college was finance. So I was like, well, you know what? Well, this guy's doing finance here. Well, maybe I could get a internship or a part-time job with them. I really had no idea what real estate was or how it worked. So it's
kind of had to change much because people getting real estate stuff. Yeah, what real estate is, how it works.
Once they find out, they're like,
whoa, this is what it is.
I don't get to sit on Facebook all day and make money.
No, sir.
So I went to go talk to him, Tino, and he was like, yeah, this is what I do, this is what it takes, this is how you get your license. He's like, but are you sure you want to do finance or do you want to do real estate sales? And I go, well, what's the difference? What is it? He's like, well, for real estate sales, go talk to my brother Heda. He does real estate. So I talked to Heda, and he right away he's like, this is where you start signing up for your license. He's all, come back on Monday. You'll start working. I'll start showing you the ropes. So all right, and that's pretty much how I started getting into real estate. Yeah. So that was with Avalar.
And this was 2002.
It would have been around 2000, 2001.
Okay.
That's 2001 because by that time I started studying for my license. Okay. And then I got my license maybe at 2002. So that's how I got in to real estate and did did a year of real estate in Ventura. And then all of a sudden, the same guy, Tino, he invited me. He's like, hey, what do you do today? I'm like, nothing much. He's like, let's go to Bakersfield. Oh, Bakersfield? What's in Bakersfield? He's like, some really good investments out there, man. Like, let's go check them out. I'm like, all right, cool. So again, in Bakersfield, we remember driving up. I remember getting like to Panama Lane. I'm like, well, how much would a house like those right off the freeway cost? He's like, oh, right now they're like 80 grand. I'm like, 80 grand? I was like, what the heck? I was like,
is that what Panama what? Like Hoskins? Like
yeah, it's like at the very end, just like those with like.
No, Hoskins wasn't up then.
Well, I know, but there was like right there before they built up the Hoskins.
Like 1980s homes and stuff like that.
What's today, Johnson?
This was number 17, right?
Yeah, this is number 17. Joe Rogan will choke you out, bro. You let that phone ring like that on the
I
episode.
can't believe it actually rained.
You're supposed to put that on airplane mode.
Yeah.
But
So then you see those are
yeah, so
80,000.
he's telling me, like the prices and stuff, and I'm like, dang. And at that point, the market started going higher in Oxford.
So, and I want to get into this. This is big. I may focus a little on this, but like you saw, like, because I got into real estate after everything, right? And you always hear people that have been in real estate for like 10, 15 years.
Market crash.
You should have seen the market. It was crazy. And all I can recall are like The Big Short and movies like that. They're like, yeah, it was like that, but worse. Like it was crazy. So much, you just had to show up and just say you had a house for sale, like 10, 15 offers, and people were making money hand over fist and going broke once everything popped in. So you went through all that.
Yeah, I got in it right when it was about to like launch, right? Like in 2002, when I moved out here, 2003. So that's like right when it's like started like going up.
So coming from being the sibling that didn't really get into school, feeling like you always kind of had that chip on your shoulder, and then getting into real estate at this time, and then seeing how it accelerated, and a lot of people were making money quick. Like, how did that play into because you went from being real reserved, kind of getting a little bit out there in sales, and then now getting all this income, because that can be an accelerator for good and bad at the same time, right?
Well, that's the interesting thing with me is that I never really like blew up like everybody else.
Okay.
And at this point right now, I'm thinking it was a blessing because a lot of people that did started like trading in houses, buying the $600,000-$700,000 house, driving a 700 series BMW and stuff like that. So I never blew up that big just because like I always like just to be steady, like this. That's me. I'm the Taurus, it's slow and steady. Just keep it going, I have enough to pay my bills, you have enough to travel. It's like I'm good,
Why do you feel that is?
I'm not sure. I just I know like some people like just have that drive that just want to acquire. And I don't know, I've never really been like that. I've always had like having nice stuff, but I've never like
not in the mass amount.
Not in the mass amount. I just want to like enjoy life.
And you've never came off like that. I think in the whole time I've ever known you, you've always seemed steady. You never seem like you're concerned about much at all. You know what I mean? Like you just seem real, like I said, like you're always present in the moment. And that's something that we always preach about. It's like be present in the moment, not what's ahead of us, not what is behind us, but be happy with what your current situation is. Especially because it can be day by day.
Yeah, and sometimes like that is like even given the hand that you were dealt, you were like you weren't the brightest, but something in you just kept going and. You ended up finding your own way, right? To trial and error, whatever. And that's crazy because most people go through their whole lives not even being able to figure out what they really want.
And I'm still figuring it out, man. It wasn't like until 2 years that I had a huge epiphany in my life as to why I was being like, I had a glass ceiling over my head. And I couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until like 2 years ago. Remember the day that we went to see Mike Ferry in Ontario with Intero?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just that one day?
Yeah.
So that day, like I was ironing my shirt, because it was just a 1 day trip. I was like, got up at 1 morning, was ironing my shirt, and it was just like it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, dang, that's why my life is the way it is right now.
Okay, so we gotta save that for a little bit into the episode. So let's go back to hold on. So go back to we're in Bakersfield.
Yeah,
we're looking at a lot of rental properties, a lot of that.
Yeah, so
market's on a swing.
Yeah, so we started checking out like some properties out here. They took me to. It was Brimhall and Old Farm.
Yeah.
They had like the villages of Brimhall out there, the model homes. And we went in there and then I'm like 18. I saw the flyer. I'm like, this house really like, $300,000. He's like, yeah, dude, 300. It was like a semi-custom house, like nice. And I was like, and I came from Monterey. I was selling, like, I was just trying to, I was about to close a deal with a family out there. And at that point, it was two families in order to purchase one house because the prices were just so high. It's like, I was working with people that work, labor workers. So And I remember talking to him, and I was like, hey, I forgot his name, but I was just saying, I was like, hey, are you excited? We're about to get you your keys. And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I'm a little bit worried because my brother's having second thoughts. I'm not sure he's gonna move in with me. And then remember, I don't like seeing people struggle or getting screwed. I'm like, well, that's not a good situation, man. It's like, it's like, I don't want to put you in this house if you don't really, and then just to lose it.
Yeah.
So I already had like that flavor where I was like, and obviously, there's people that are out there buying and selling right now. They can afford houses, but just that particular case stuck to me. And that when I came out here, and I'm like, man, somebody could buy a house for like $100,000, like a nice house for $150,000. In my mind, I'm like, well, they're gonna have to struggle to pay that money. So I'm like, and then I saw that model home, and I'm like, and I can get a house like this for that much. And I was like, so that day that I came, like. They showed me the lots that were available.
Yeah.
I came back the following week and put a deposit on one of the lots, and I was like,
no hesitation. Just did.
Yeah. No hesitation. I didn't know anybody out here.
No kids, not married yet.
No kids, nothing.
Yeah,
no
it's
family
awesome.
out here, nothing. Dude. And I just thought, the way I looked at it, I go, okay, well, my parents traveled 3,000 miles without knowing anybody, not knowing the language, and they were able to make it. I go, why can't I drive an hour and a half to Bakersfield?
Dude, that's balls.
Yeah,
that is balls.
So I just did it. I came back, gave a deposit, and signed up, and they started building my house. And at that point, like I said, I didn't know anybody, but my broker, they had opened up an office out here with Avalar. I don't know if you guys remember the Avalar, the yellow Hummers with the Avalar decals all over it.
I think they're still open, right? I think I want to say
They changed name. They're Better Homes Real Estate now.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I really remember it back then because it had the yellow Hummers.
Yeah.
Avalar decals.
probably was.
So again, I didn't know anybody, no clientele, nothing, right? And Tino, again, that same guy, he's like, hey, I have a buddy out there in California that has a house on a lake. I'm like, a house on a lake in Bakersfield? I'm like, Bakersfield's a lake? He's like, oh, it's a man-made lake. He's like, but you got to check it out. It's cool.
Yeah.
So he introduced me to him, and he lived right here in River Lakes.
Yeah.
And his house backed up to one of the little, the little man-made lakes.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and I was like, all right, cool. So I rented a room from him, and it was nice, dude. Just started building from there, dude.
Yeah.
Started building from there, but the funny thing is about like having to figure it out, or looking at my siblings and did I make any stuff. To answer your question about that, is I worked up to that, and at that point I remember I had a brand new like 2004 Mercedes E-Class.
Mm-hmm.
My house, big old house, 3-car garage and stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember at one point sitting, like I was in my garage and I was looking at my car and then I was looking at my house and I was just like, I'm still, I'm not happy. It's, it's not fulfilling.
Right.
So at that point, I think from that point on, it's like when I realized, okay, I had all the material stuff, but it's like, I'm not happy. It's like,
how old were you at this point, you think?
Had to have been like in my early 20s, 22, 23.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Wow. So I was just kind of like, I'm like, man, it's not like, I'm not happy with it. It's like, it's not bringing me any like real joy. It's like, yeah, it shows well. People think like, oh, man, this guy's got it together. But like inside, I was just still kind of like at a void. Mm-hmm. So I think at that point, they kind of like started my quest to like seek answers, like the spiritual quest. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it at that point like that, but I just kind of like, I knew and I felt that there has to be something better than just this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man. So it's just
so when you start thinking, you kind of have that switch flipped, and you start thinking that way, right? Mm-hmm. I think each of us, I've had my, I think just recently within the past maybe year and a half, maybe a year total, like I felt like it's kind of flipped onto a whole different mentality of thinking,
right?
And yourself kind of coming to things too as well. We talk. Do you find yourself alone in a sense that where it's almost it's thankfully I'm able to relate to people like him and have him and then like even have a conversation with you and some others, it's but around that time, I mean, do you feel like there's a lot of people that you were able to talk to that kind of got it? Like, what do you mean no flow? You got all this stuff. Because I mean that's kind of our culture, right? It's like you got the car, you got the house, what the hell's wrong with you? Like you pay your bills paid? Oh, you straight then. Like,
I never really had anybody like that I like talked to, like as far as like deep conversations or stuff like that.
Did you put your head into any books or anything like that at the time?
That's where it started. I remember my first self-help book was a Dr. Phil book.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have hair at that time?
Nah.
Oh yeah.
I saw his baby picture. But yeah, that's where I started getting into like self-help books, Dr. Phil, Tony Robbins, and the good thing I did, because like now later on in my life, like transitioning into like a plant-based lifestyle, like I know I used and for other stuff too that I've used, like those things that I've learned those books. Yeah. And it's not like the whole book, but it's like you remember like these little key points.
Well, that's usually what sticks out to you.
Yeah,
that needs to speak to you at that moment.
Right.
Got you.
Like one of the things, that thing that sticks out of me out of that book from Dr. Phil is to always, your problems are your own problems. It's like it doesn't matter how big or small it may seem to the world. It's like they're still your problems. You got to own them. And he gives you examples like, okay, it's like we might be laying in the hospital bed next to each other. You have a compound fracture, and I have a sprained ankle. I go, well, so I'm sorry for your compound fracture, but it's not going to make my sprained ankle feel any better. Yeah. So kind of saying is like, okay, well, it's still your problem. Don't make it any less because you still got to address it and work on it. Yeah. Regardless of how big or small it is to the rest of the picture.
Yeah.
So,
and just before we get out, like kind of like the real estate, because I'm really so much in the plant lifestyle.
Yeah.
Plant-based lifestyle. I don't know, I'm tongue-tied, but and this is nothing against our business, but I mean, from a consumer standpoint and outside looking in, even TV and stuff like that, you look at our business of real estate, and most people, they look at it, it's like, okay, they nice cars, houses, dressed up in suits or dressed skirts, whatever. But my point is, it's like we look very superficial.
Right.
That's how we come off, right? And then, but we work with a lot of people that are wearing masks to cover voids that we would prefer not to share with others.
Right. Yeah.
So we're kind of like in this big ass acting arena in a sense. You know what I mean? So you get to kind of see everybody on that. And granted, we don't try to judge them or anything like that, but it's again, it's just hard to relate to people unless you're with a group. You just kind of be like, okay, this is kind of where we're at and stuff like that.
Right.
So heading out of that, like where you're kind of that real estate, like what came next? Like how'd you meet your wife?
Oh, my wife, I knew her ever since back like in Oxnard.
So she's not from Bakersfield?
No, she's from Ventura as well.
Okay. So when you brought her with her, you're like, hey, we're just gonna move, and she was like, okay.
Nah, man, we did.
You're like, I got a Mercedes and I got a house. I knew that stuff came in handy.
No, actually, like during that point, it's like we had like some turmoil and stuff. So she was she went to USC. She's a USC grad.
Okay.
So she graduated USC. Went back to Ventura, couldn't really find a job. Then she found a job in Santa Monica, so she moved back to LA. So I was living out here. She was living in LA during that period.
So you guys were already dating before you moved to Ventura? Oh, okay, gotcha.
So then at that point, so like everything like in real estate, like I said, throughout all those years, even though everybody went like sky high, and I was making a lot of money. It's like I kind of stayed still level. I was just kind of like, again, a little tortoise, just cruising along, doing my stuff, making enough money. Like I said, just to live a good life.
Just support your lifestyle.
And I remember thinking back then, I was like, man, I'm like, it's Chris and Cole, and I'm sure you guys heard of them, right? I'm like, how the hell are they doing it? I was like, how? Like, I don't understand, like how they can make that much money. And well, a short time later, you find out it's but you kind of like at some points you kind of like you compare yourself to it. It's like, how can they do it and I'm not doing it? Or what am I doing wrong? But that's a good point. That's a good example of why you shouldn't always compare yourself because you don't know what the other person's doing. It's like it could be something that's not good.
So when you went to real estate and you were doing, and then you said you started reading the books and learning about plant-based.
I know, right?
Plant-based diet. So at what point did you decide to make the switch and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go.
You're asking that one because we had that talk about your whole making the switch to that. I think when we were driving up to the beach. Yeah. I think when I was like, I started asking like, how'd you get into this? And he just started telling me, which is an amazing story.
So touch on it lightly, so I'm just going to go there because I'm pretty sure everyone here wants to know what made the switch.
Absolutely, man. So like I told you, mentioned earlier, I did Volkswagen. I never an athlete. Never, like always struggled with weight.
Yeah.
My buddy Moses Contreras, he invited me to do the Volkswagen. He's like, hey, dude, watch into the. If you know Moses, you guys know Moses, right? He's all like, hey, all energetic.
Yeah, all energetic.
So he walks into the office. We were sharing an office at that point. He's like, hey, dude, he's like, want to do Volkswagen? And I'm like, Volkswagen? I thought it was like a beer fest or something.
It sounded like
that. Sign me up. Then I'm like, well, what is he? So he jumped on YouTube and he started like. He showed me some videos and I was like, oh heck yeah, just like how you guys were.
Yeah, that's fun, man.
I'm like heck yeah, I'm all for it, man.
Yeah.
He's like, well, there's a 5K or a 10K. He's like, what you want to do? I'm like, we're gonna do it. Let's do the big
10K.
So that's how it all started. Like my running career, my running journey. So started running, did Volkswagen. after he finished, I was kind of like, you know what, I kind of like this stuff. It's like, well, how do I continue? So found a group, the Bagels and Blenders group, and started running with them. And then just from there, just started picking up miles. And at one point, I got injured. I injured my foot to where I couldn't run. And at that point, we already had both of our boys, and we were trying to condition them to go to bed like earlier, you know.
Okay.
And then they go to bed around 8:30 at that time because they're babies. But I was staying up till like 11 at night, and I was kind of like, then I'm getting up late and stuff like that. And I was talking to my buddy Fernando Mendoza, and I'm like, dude, I'm giving up racquetball. At that point, I was playing racquetball. I have to give up racquetball because it cuts into my family time because we were playing racquetball from 5 to 7 in the afternoons. So I'm like, I gotta give up racquetball so I can be home with the kids, the family. I go, but I still want to train. He's like, well, get up early. So 5 in the morning. That's true, Mom.
It's funny. It's funny because you never think about life by getting up earlier than your usual time.
No, there's a lot. People say that they don't have enough time. It's like there's a whole bunch of time in the morning. In the morning before you get started with everything else, before life starts, the kids, school, and all that stuff. Yeah. So I was like, all right. So that's when I started running with Bagels and Blenders because they would meet and start running at 5. So for a while, I got pretty religious with it, where I was waking up at 4 every day and start running at 5, religiously. And I got to the point where I injured my foot. I used to run through nagging injuries like hip pain or knee pain or Achilles, but this one was like I was on the run and I just had to stop. I had to walk all the way back to the car, so I knew something was wrong. So since I couldn't run, there was really no reason for me to wake up in the morning. I mean, I guess I could have been at the gym now that I think about it. But I just started getting into bad habits again, staying up late, watching TV, going to sleep at 10:30. But the good thing is that right around that time we had got Netflix. So, and like I said, I enjoyed health, so I started trying to find documentaries about health. And the first documentary I watched has nothing to do with plant-based, but it's a documentary called Brzezinski's. And it's about Dr. Brzezinski from Texas, who created his drug called antineoplastic, which is a drug that's used to treat cancer, and it's much more effective with 0 side effects, unlike chemo and radiation. So, and the whole documentary was a story about how the FDA still hasn't approved this drug. And on the contrary, they've been taking it to court, trying to say he's doing false claims and he's a quack and blah blah blah. And every time they take him to court, the judge dismisses it because he brings in a bunch of patients and they testify for him and they're like, there's nothing wrong here, it's like, get out of here. So they dismiss his case. But what that made me realize is dude, the government agencies, the FDA, stuff like that, it's they're not really for us. It's well, what's up with all these commercials asking us for money because they want to find a cure for cancer when they already have a better option. And us as free Americans, we don't even have the option to go use those drugs because they're not approving them. Yeah. So instead, we have to opt for these more dangerous treatments, chemo and radiation. And on that, in that documentary, it starts off with a very powerful testimony of this detective that had 2 twin daughters. One of them got cancer, a rare type of spinal or brain cancer, and they were fighting them tooth and nail not to be able to do chemo radiation. So once the industry pretty much says okay, we've already spent, there's no hope for you, then you can go off and look for other treatments and stuff.
Oh, they have to write you off.
Yeah. Damn. Wow. So after they did that, they went to go do Dr. Brzezinski's. Cancer was gone. So they took her off Brzezinski's, the cancer came back. They put her back on Brzezinski's, the cancer went away again, but the little girl died. So that was the first case of that type of cancer that the patient died cancer-free. So she didn't die because of the cancer, she died because the radiation and chemo just tore her up inside from all the side effects. Yeah. So that, I watched that and I visualized the commercials that you see of all little kids, in hospitals, all sad and asking for donations. And I'm like, these motherfuckers, there's already a better option. These fuckers, just to keep the status quo, just to keep the money coming into the pharmaceuticals. Yeah. They're not allowing it, they're not approving it. So that really, it got me David, man. I was pissed. And I was just that documentary opened my eyes to see that, okay, government agencies, they're not for us, they're for the corporations. Yeah. So how Netflix, once you watch one, it
brings them all up.
Yeah, brings them all up. So the next one I watched was about Dr. Gerson. Dr. Gerson, he was doing medicine here, but they didn't allow him because they was treating cancer patients with juicing, natural juices and coffee enemas. And I think they still have a Dr. Gerson clinic in TJ.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can't get that treatment here. You have to go to Mexico to get that treatment because again, it's not FDA approved. So that's the first one where I started seeing that foods can cure disease. And I was like, oh no, that's kind of weird. And I watched another one, Beautiful Truth. Then I watched another one. Then I watched Fat, Sick, and Every Day, which that's Joe Cross did that film where he starts. He's an Australian guy. Started in New York. He said 60 days I'm gonna do nothing but juices. So, and he had like this rare autoimmune disease where his immune system just goes off. He just like brush up against you, and all of a sudden it attacks, like it sends rashes. Because like rashes are like when a mosquito bites you, your body, that's your body when it swells up. It's like kind of like pushing it out or containing it. So sometimes he said he would put on a shirt and his body would misinterpret it and just break out of rashes and stuff.
Damn.
So he had like a bunch of like medication and stuff for it. So he said, I'm going to try this. And I don't recall why he wanted to do it, but he just started his juice journey from New York to California, and he's going to be talking to Americans all along the way. So he starts, and by the time he finishes, like his autoimmune disease is gone. Like weight, he's like, man, I can feel my hip bones. I don't remember the last time I felt my hip bones. And just like lost a ton of weight, looked great and stuff.
In 60 days?
Yeah, he actually went 90 days, I believe. But he did 90 days with nothing but juicing. So I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. So I had a Jack LaVine juicer already, so I'm like, I'm doing this, man.
Yeah.
So I did it for 7 days. And I remember, I just remember I felt like really good. I was just like, I'm not. The first 3 days, I'm not gonna lie, they were horrible, man.
Yeah.
The first day it was cool. Second day it was like, oh, it was a little rough. The third day, a headache woke me up, and I went to bed with a headache. I was like, the third day was miserable, man.
So what's your body doing? Just detoxing?
Just detoxing, like no coffee, no sugar, no nothing. So like, what the hell's going on,
Yeah.
And then the fourth day, it was weird. It's kind of like the movies where like you wake up and like the clouds part and the sun comes out, the birds are singing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I feel pretty good today.
Yeah.
So day 4, 5, and 6, it was a lot better, a lot easier. The 6th day, my wife had a seminar down in Palm Springs for some CPA classes and stuff. So we went down there, and that was the first time I went back like a night breakfast, like egg-wise, since Australia or something like that. And the thing that tripped me out though is because I told you I grew up in a panaderia, right? So I was eating, I was a heavy meat eater, man. It's like when you came to my house for barbecues, it's like there's no skirt steak here. It'd be like ribeye, the fatter, the more marbling, the better. It's like, and I would even cut off the little fat off the edge, grill that because I was like, said, I'm grilling, this is my price, this is my payoff.
Yeah.
So, and barbecue, like Texas style, like I just loved all that stuff. And what I found curious that day is like after my wife had the seminar, she's like, okay, well, where do you want to go eat? And it was like kind of like outdoor mall type of area, and there was like a Texas style barbecue, like big old fire pit in the middle and everything. And she's like, well, you want to go eat some ribs? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not really craving that. I don't really want that. So what do you want? I'm like, we went back and forth. We settled on sushi because I'm like, it's light. I'll settle on sushi. So that was like the first kind of like experience where I was kind of like, that was kind of weird. Why was I used to love meat, but I guess a reboot helped clear all the cravings. And that's what it does. It just presses reset and just like all your cravings just go away. Like all the sugar dependency, the salt dependency, just kind of like it goes away.
But that's crazy to say that. But instinctively, is that your mind? Because I would imagine like I eat meat and chicken and stuff like that. From you switching to not wanting to eat meat, like, did you miss it? Because if you're a heavy meat eater, I'm thinking you can easily go back. Is it your body?
At that point, it's like I didn't stop eating meat. I just didn't crave it. I didn't have the cravings.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like I was, at that point, it's not like I would say I'm never going to eat meat. It's just I didn't have cravings for it. So we came back from that trip. I kept watching documentaries. And in February 2012, I watched the Forks Over Knives documentary, which is kind of like a grandfather, all like documentaries. And the day that I watched that documentary, it's the last day I ate meat. So on a regular basis, I'm not gonna lie, I did eat meat one time or shrimp actually on the on a trip to Costa Rica, and
did you feel any kind of way when you ate it, like heavier in a certain way, or did your body feel different? Like
no, because it was just a little bit of like because we were right next to the river, we were all like ATVing up in the like mountains in Costa Rica and stuff, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'll try. We've been drinking and stuff, so you loosen up a little when you had a couple of drinks. And I tried it, but as soon as I had it, man, I just like I honestly felt like throwing up, and it was mostly not because I felt physically sick. It was just like
you worked so hard for it, like to get there.
No, just like I was more like emotionally upset with myself that I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, I'm like, these little crayfish, it's like, they were just enjoying their life, doing what they want to do, just like we are. And they got pulled out of the water and killed just so I could eat it. And it was weird because growing up as well, like I don't think I had a conscience because like when I was a kid, my dad bought me a BB gun. Yeah. And I remember I would spend most of my weekends out in the riverbeds. Right there in Fillmore, it's in between two rivers. So you have like the Sespe River and the Southern River that comes down. So our first house was right. If you guys drive through there, it's like there's a Chevron. We did in the little neighborhood right behind it. Mm-hmm. And now past that, it's all houses. But back then it was all orchards. So it was like orchards and the riverbed. So I would wake up at 4 or 5, not 4 or 5, like 5 or 6 in the morning on weekends, get my BB gun, go walk, and just kill whatever. Anything that's moving, man. So when I started having like these weird like emotional feelings about these crayfish, that's when I knew that the plant-based diet not only helped with my physical, but like your mental and spiritual, it also like affects it as well.
Let me ask you a question, because I remember we had a conversation. I don't know if you want to share, you don't have to, but I remember we were driving to the, where did we go to?
To Abilene?
Was that where we went that one day? We all stayed at that house at Airbnb.
That was Abilene. Yeah.
And I think we were talking, and you had said that you had a friend's father pass away.
Yeah. No, I'll get into that.
Okay. I didn't know if it was before the movies or after the movies.
No, that has more to do with how I used that experience to stay with it. So that's where like the Tony Robbins and the whole nine yards.
Got you. Okay.
So at that point, I watched the film and I was like, that's it. I'm not eating ever again. I'm done. And it goes back to because I realized that it's like, okay, all these diseases that we're dying from, that my uncles, my aunts, my grandparents, my wife's aunts and uncles are passing away from, they're unnecessary. They're coming prematurely just because of the way we're eating, right?
Right.
So I always thought, like everybody says, it's genetics. It's all genetics. Well, if your dad had a heart attack, mom, like you're gonna have a heart attack. It's genetics.
Yeah.
That's the way that the current medical system teaches us.
Yeah.
There's too bad, it is the way it is, the way you're built. Thank your parents, Don't thank your parents. That's what they say, right?
Thanks.
So I decided. So then, like, how did I keep it? Because I'm not the type of person.
Don't get into that. I want to ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
Everybody, I probably said it to you. He said it. Everybody, right? Every time you tell somebody that you're plant-based, you're vegan, you probably have to deal with this. It's like when you're working and someone says, "Hey, working hard or hardly working?" Like, it's always the same jabs all the time, right? So it's things like, basically like, well, I have one life to live, so I'm gonna live it the way I want to live it. And if I want to eat meat, I'm gonna eat meat, or I'm gonna eat, not just necessarily eat meat, but eat the way I want to eat. All that stuff that you go through. One, why do you feel people push that kind of belief, and then two, like how was it in the beginning stages of not like they're necessarily defending yourself? Because I think I tried to go vegan for a little bit. I think I did maybe 4 or 5 months, and it really wasn't. It became a habit. Like it became easier to do.
Right.
Easier to do. Well,
you got good results from it too, right?
Yeah, but
you lost like 15 pounds.
Yeah, but what made it hard?
The socials.
It was the people you hung out with.
Yeah.
Always going somewhere and either not being prepared with bringing food or the knowledge of what to eat. And then the other thing was being at home. At that time I was married and we were both trying to do it. And then she got out of it because for her reason, she didn't have enough iron, and then having the children, which you're married and you have children too. So it's almost like you're a whole set of different eaters. So again, you got what people think about it. How did you get through that? And then like with the family life of that transition into that, because how did the wife take to it, and how did the kids take to it? Did you press upon that onto them?
Right. Well, those are all good questions, man. And no, actually, because I hear some stories of like, I follow a lot of vegan personalities on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and they seem like a lot of people get like people that are combative towards them, like always trying to argue with them, always trying to and I've been kind of blessed in the sense that I never got that. I don't think anybody's like really tried to like debate me or prove me wrong. It's like they're more curious. It's like, well, what about this? Or how do you do it for this? Or how do you do it for that?
You think it's because you got really overly aggressive with it either?
Yes.
Passive with it? You've never pressed it. You've just been like,
and I think that's what it is, man, because you get people that'll tell you religion or political, hey, you need to do this.
Yeah,
and
you shouldn't eat that. It's going to make you sick.
Yeah, you've never done that. You've never done that, dude. And I think that's why a lot of people can actually relate to you and be like, hey, I'm interested. And then they just ask you questions, right?
Yeah, I think it has to do with, because even within the plant-based community or the vegan community, you have like there's some people that like just throw the V word out there, and there's some like are like hardcore
V word,
like,
huh?
Wow.
Yeah, vegan guys.
Excuse me.
On top of you.
That kind of show.
Excuse me.
Holy shit.
But but there's some that are like super militant with it. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing maybe if you come at that approach where it's like, oh, that poor little animal, or like like trying to make people feel bad while they're eating their meal.
Yeah.
It's gonna be And people come into the plant-based lifestyle for different reasons. Like there's vegans that are like the ethical vegans, and then there's people that are like environmentalists. There's people that are health conscious.
Oh, okay, explain.
So there's sub-levels.
Yeah, like what do you?
Yeah.
What's the?
Well, if there's vegans listening to it, they'd be like, no, veganism is just for the animals. That's the only way and reason why you can be vegan.
Yeah.
So that's their claim, is like, don't use our word because it's there's only one definition for it, and you have to come from the animal welfare perspective.
Okay.
But there's other people like myself that just kind of hijack it because it's easier just to say like, well, I'm whole food plant-based, or I'm plant-based. You're like, what the heck is that? I'm vegan. Oh, okay, you don't eat meat. So they already know what vegan kind of somewhat means. A lot of times it gets confused between vegetarianism and veganism. But vegetarianism is you don't eat any flesh of the animals, but you still eat like dairy and eggs.
Oh, the product that they
produce.
Okay, so an egg. So an egg, what does that fall as far as like is it vegan or vegetarian that you don't eat egg?
A vegetarian would still eat egg. A vegan doesn't eat. A vegan doesn't. Not only do they not eat anything that's from an animal, even honey, eggs, but they also don't wear any animal products.
Okay.
No leather belts, no leather shoes, no nothing.
But honey, I thought the bees made honey. It's not made from bees.
Well, yeah, I mean, but cows make milk and so but it's pretty much they don't feel like we shouldn't exploit animals for our benefit.
So is there like a master chart of how to keep track of all this? Because I mean, I could imagine it gets pretty hard keeping track of like, okay, so
I think the definition of veganism is just going about like you're eating your lifestyle habits by causing the minimal harm possible.
Okay.
So the environment or animals?
To everything.
Okay.
To animals. Yeah. Just remember, vegan is all about the animals. But people are becoming, with more and more studies that are coming out, like the animal agriculture causes havoc on the environment just because of the natural resources it takes to produce. I think it's like 100. I gotta look it up, but it's something crazy, like 100 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of beef.
Right.
So imagine to grow a whole cow, how much water, grain, and then plus all the waste that the animals produce. So all that washes into the oceans, the rivers, into the oceans, and creates dead zones where it kills coral reefs, fish, everything. Nothing could exist in the pool. It's all like a cesspool of all the runoff from the factory farms. So there's environmentalists and then also like in Brazil, they're chopping down the rainforest just so they can have more grazing areas for the cattle or to raise food for cattle.
Yeah.
So they're getting rid of the rainforest and other natural areas just to be able to produce feed. So the environmentalists go based off of that. And then there's me that I came in through where it's like, okay, it's like, I know we don't, the majority of, like the number one killer in America is heart disease. And it's 100% avoidable just by what you eat. So like one of the doctors says, it's like a toothless paper tiger that may never exist. It's like, it's just, there's going to be a small percentage of people that like biologically, genetically are going to are more susceptible to a heart attack, even if they eat a plant-based diet. Maybe they're stressful, maybe their relationships are all jacked up, stuff that causes other havoc in your body.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like if you die prematurely from a heart attack, it's because of your lifestyle, because of what you're eating. So that's the way I came in it, it's because like I said, I already seen my family. They were walking down, they were falling off a cliff, at an early age, they're 60s, 50s. So once I watched the documentary, I go, okay, well, I know now that if I continue to eat this way, I'm going to go right off that cliff as well. So I'm taking a hard ride, and I'm just making this lifestyle change for you.
Yeah.
So that was my entryway to it.
How's that go? And then again, the next question was, how does that work with like feeling that way about things and having your kids, right? Your children, and then you see your wife, and then however they eat. Because I know you've always mentioned that they still eat however they do. You were really pressed upon that hard press to correct the eating overall. But like, what are your thoughts with that when you see them?
It's disheartening, man. It bums me out. It's been about maybe about like 3 months ago. I remember I was sitting the way our kitchen is set up is like our sink and like like the island area, and then our table, like our breakfast nook is right in front of it. Yeah. And I remember I was just drinking my smoothie there, and then I see my 2 boys and my wife at the table, and both of them their shirt off, they're overweight. It's like grubbing down on pizza, stuffing it like in ranch dressing and eating it. And I'm like, it's disheartening, you know, because you know all this information.
Yeah, you look like you're hungry right now.
That's disgusting. Ranch, barbecue sauce?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But so it's disheartening because I know the damage that they're creating.
Right.
It's disheartening because I struggled with weight all my childhood, and I know the complexions it gave me. I know, like, going into the fitting room, you know, you see a nice shirt, you're about to go to a club with your boys on the weekend, you're younger, or on a date with your lady, and
they only got that large, and you get the extra large.
But you see it, you see it.
It's gonna be dark. I can't wear it. No, we'll see.
So you take out the rack, you go into the changing room, and then you know those freaking changing rooms, those lights and everything, those mirrors. You just pull up your shirt, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then you throw on the shirt, and it's all like, you know, the buttons are all like,
So do you ever try to press upon your wife at all, like try to steer them into maybe cut back a little bit? You ever argue about that with her?
She's made great strides. Like just this last weekend when we went camping, she brought chicken into the house, and I don't remember, to be honest with you, when was the last time before that she brought it in. So she has made strides to it.
So it makes some adjustments.
Mostly they're at the house. It's predominantly plant-based, but still when they go out and eat, they go out and still eat like Chick-fil-A or whatever the case is. You know?
Do you ever feel like that the kids, like, because I always think this of my kids too, like, you know, I always try to press upon them to eat a little less sugar, a little better here and there and stuff like that. But my thoughts are, you know, man, they're going to go through this, and then there's going to be that point where they're going to become of their own, like we have at different points, and they're going to say, okay, I need to do this at that time because it's my moment to change, or my moment to do something. And I like to kind of help educate them.
Yeah, us as parents, I think our job is just to plant the seed and control it as much as possible while they're under our roof. And once they grow up, I mean, all you can do is hope that they learned and that they're going to adapt it into their lifestyle, you know, in the future. So, so yeah, I just teach them. I talk to my kids. I'm not always like, I joke around with them a lot, and they joke around too. Like my son, my younger son, will get a piece of meat or whatever, like, hey, whatever. Get
that meat out of my face.
Yeah. So we go back and forth in that, but sometimes, for the most part, I don't give them a hard time or anything. Yeah. Sometimes when I don't know if I had a hard day at work, or just like it builds up, and because you got to understand, like for me, like after 7.5 years, is I know for a fact wholeheartedly, like 100% convinced that we are not designed to eat meat. Like biologically, we're not designed to eat meat. Like again, like the damage we're doing to the environment, we're not designed. This is not the way we're supposed to be doing things. Right. So I know that for a fact, and I know like how much disease it causes. Yeah. And I know how beneficial it is to reverse disease. So when I see my wife give my kids pizza or a burger, I know she's giving them something that's like, it's like giving them a cigarette. It's like, would you give a kid a cigarette, right? To me, in my eyes, like the way at the point where I'm at, it's the same thing. Because, you know, just because of the studies that have been brought out and the reduction of life expectancy when you do eat meat or milk and eggs and stuff. Yeah. To me, it's like it's the same thing. It's like you're giving them something it's not gonna kill them tomorrow. You know, it's a progression. Yeah. But it's like you're still setting them up. And then especially since, you know, like myself, my wife has like struggled with weight issues as well. And then like you and I have both struggled with this. Why are you setting them up to be in the same positions and have those same negative experiences, you know? So it's frustrating. It does get frustrating. So I don't write them all the time, but sometimes it does build up, and I'll be like,
a couple things common myths. I mean, you figure, you know, like I think all of us as Americans struggle with, it's just people in general struggle with weight. You know what I mean? Like at times. So and one thing that irritates me is like when people are like, I'm going to go on a diet. I feel like that's already you're setting yourself up for failure because you're just giving yourself a time to like
Tony Robbins says, what are the first 3 letters of that word?
Die. You're like, it's like,
but it's a start for some people, I think. I mean, some people they can't just go fall in, you know, and go into watch videos and I'm gonna be vegan, you know what I mean? So I think like diet, some people maybe they need that start. Maybe,
I think people diet for the wrong reasons though. I'm dieting because we're going to Vegas. Okay, I'm gonna diet because I need to get into this wedding dress. Yeah, right. Exactly. Instead of saying like I said that to you when you said I'm gonna start meal prepping. I'm gonna try meal prepping. Just be more conscious to bring your food to work instead of us eating out. Right. Like it's a slight adjustment of like I'm not going to work out because I want to get fit. I'm working out because I have anxiety in the morning when I wake up. So that's the only way I can get rid of it by working out.
But most people don't think like that. They're like, no, they have to wait. And this is one thing that pisses me off is like if someone has like heart disease or something, or hey, you're prone to be diabetic and this and that. Like one thing that irks the shit out of me is that people wait until they get to the doctor. The doctor tells them, hey man, you're gonna die if you don't lose some weight.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm gonna change. And you're right. When you're feeding all this shit,
7 out of 10 people don't even care to do shit going forward.
Yeah, they're like, oh, okay.
And is it because you think it's habit based? It's just because they're just.
It's habit based, and there's a lot of emotion type behind what we eat.
Yeah.
It's very personal. It's just like it's like that's the food that we grew up with. It's the food that our moms cooked for us. It's
Comforting.
4th of July parties.
Yeah.
It's birthday parties.
I'll make a break for this 4th of July, but I'll be good the next week, stuff like that.
It's like, all right, it's like Sunday after church, we go to McDonald's. We used to go to McDonald's with the family, with my mom, my dad, when everything was happy. So we associate, like there's neuro associations to food and good times. So that's why this food addiction is real. It's like people are addicted to food just like any other drug or anything, you know. So, and why is it? It's because we made those associations. It's like, okay, I'm having a bad day, I'm stressed out. You know, you don't get that physical hug from mom, but if I go eat this meal that mom used to make, it's like, it takes you away. You know, it's like a comforting food.
Yeah. I think, and it's funny you bring that up, but I've never had an infatuation with food. Like, not to be honest with you, I've never. My mom, great cook, everything, but up to the point where I started hanging out with like us in the office, like you and Tony loved to eat. Oh man, good steak, this and that. I never really cared, right? Because I think I could care less to spend money on that shit because I was like, I put this shit out anyway. I'd rather put it somewhere else. It's just a meal. I've always thought as food is fuel. Like I'll just eat it and I keep pushing. I'm not concerned about what, and I'm not concerned about what I'm eating. I'm just trying to put something in there just keep the tank going. So I gotta keep going. And so my point was, it never really became anything to me like where I was like, oh, let's go give everybody steak or let's do this. Now that's kind of being pressed upon to do it. But before that, it was just like, it's like whatever. Like it didn't matter, right? So, as you started changing your diet, I always felt like, and I could be wrong, but with your stomach, it's like this. And as you eat more and more and more, it just stretches out and you get used to like eating, like you eat just to eat, not eat till you're full. Like, or eat till you're like you want to pass out, right? Like that's that food coma, right? And most people do that. I mean, a lot of us do that, right?
I've done it before.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't like. It just grosses me out how I feel after I eat like that. So I try to eat just to a little bit. I try to tell my kids like, don't eat till you're full. Like, just stop right here.
So you're 80% full, then
right?
Because there's a delay from what I recall right now. There's a delay between the receptors in your stomach and the message that gets to your brain.
And then depending on the garbage you're eating too, it's tricking you into thinking you're never going to get full.
Right. It gets complicated, man. Because like the more I'm learning, like because you take consideration like just the addictive nature of food, the way it's designed nowadays. It's like in nature back in the day, like the sweetest things on the planet was fruit. So like we would eat it, and we'd be like, oh, like all our get excited, our brain would get excited, and that's how we knew to eat those foods. Now our brains are hijacked with all these like artificial sweeteners. And they do it on purpose, man. They put all this like oil, salt, and sugar, so it can trigger all those, and you crave more and more.
Do you feel yourself being since you're plant based? Do you feel yourself being consistently hungry, or now you find out you're less hungry and you're eating for the fuel and the?
It's the opposite because with the standard American diet or the SAD diet, there's a lot of empty calories. So we're eating a lot more in volume, but a lot less quality.
Right.
So you're eating a lot, taking in the same amount or even more calories, but your body's still like it's looking for the vitamins, looking for the nutrients, and it's not pulling them out. So it sends signals to your brain. It's like, hey, we still need this. You're still hungry. Go eat some more. So you go eat more, and you're still not providing what it needs. So when you do like more of a whole food plant-based diet, because just remember, being vegan does not equal healthy.
Oh hell no! My brother was vegan. Him and his girlfriend did it for I think 6 months to a year.
Yeah,
and they were so iron deficient, like it was bad. They had to turn around and start eating stuff like because they had no clue what they were doing. They just cut it out, started eating tofu and all this, and they were just like wrecking themselves.
Right now it's harder too. They're making it easier and harder. I mean, easier because there's
junk food.
Plug some local companies. They have a Bakersfield Pizza Company. They have good vegan pizza options.
Oh yeah, that was good.
They have Vida Vegan. Also has some like bomb ass like vegan food.
Yeah.
The Hen's Roost, I think it is called. I haven't been there yet, but
I've heard of
Nature's Market. There's like a lot of areas that are opening up. Well, actually, Nature's Market is like almost like 100% healthy. That they focus on obviously raw vegan. But like all these other places that are offering, Carl's Jr. has a vegan burger now. You guys know that?
A Beyond Burger, yeah.
Yeah, the Beyond Burger.
Yeah.
But if you're eating those foods, you're still being unhealthy. They're still high calorie, low nutrient.
I feel like he was taking me there, and he let me down.
So they're good. They're good, like to transition, and they're good to like. In this case, where we camped this week is like everybody else is grilling up stuff. So you take your Beyond patty, and you take your Beyond burger, and you can still have the same triggers that you did back then, but it's a better option. It's still a better option. It's healthier than the regular burger.
What about some of the misconceptions where people say it's and let's just say health and people may not want to go full plant-based, and maybe they just want to cut out some things and make a conscious effort just to eat better. What are some misconceptions about the fact that it's really expensive? Like, because that you always hear, it's so expensive to eat healthy.
So when's the last time buying a bag of bean and rice broke the bank, man?
Yeah.
It's expensive if you buy those processed fake meats and stuff like that. That's when it's expensive. But if you think about it, veggies, cucumbers, kale, spinach, potatoes, beans, legumes.
You think a lot of times we run out of time, and we transition that for
time and ideas is you got to learn to cook new things.
Yeah.
So the best thing to help with that is just join platforms. Join Pinterest, join the Forks Over Nice page, website page. They actually will give you a list of groceries, because you're I don't know what to buy. You can go on there and they'll give you a list of everything you need to buy and how to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's a lot of good resources out there.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, so it's vegan is not equal health. One of the things that you could do, if you're well, I don't want to commit to it 100%. A really good example of that is Lee from our office.
Mm-hmm.
Lee Kustra.
Oh yeah, Lee Kustra.
Yeah. So I met Lee when we were at the downtown office, and he kind of got wind of what I was doing, so he would kind of poke his head in the office every now and then and be like, "Hey, so what is this about not eating meat?" And I would explain to him, and he's like, "All right." And then he would he'd keep coming in and out asking questions over time.
Yeah.
And I think the time that he really got he's like, what the hell? He took it serious is after I did the 50-mile race to Ray Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I came back in and he's like, you really did 50 miles? And I was like,
God damn. We did 3.5, 4.5 now. My foot still hurts.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I did 50 miles. He's like, it was really inconceivable to me. So at that point he said, okay, I think in his mind, he's like, all right, this guy's onto something. And he kept asking questions. So finally I was like, you know what, Lee? Don't listen to anything I say. Don't do anything I say. Go on to Dr. Brooke Goldner's page. Dr. Brooke Goldner, she cured herself of lupus, a disease that to modern medicine has no cure.
Really?
She cured herself of lupus, and now she's helping thousands of people get rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Sjögren's, or there's a couple I can't pronounce, but
so what was the doctor name again?
Dr. Brooke Goldner.
Dr. Brooke Goldner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that will be on the bottom of the podcast. Probably never, because we don't know how to do that, but we'll figure it out soon.
Well, you can DM me and
just DM the vegan realtor.
Vegan realtor, yeah. But so I told him, I go, just do this. If you don't want to give up meat, just do this her smoothie in the morning.
Yeah.
And then one in the evening. But just start off at least.
It's called a her smoothie.
No, her smoothie.
Oh, her smoothie. Oh, she sells her products. You can just
no. It's just
she tells you how to make it.
I don't know if it's her smoothie. I'm sure people were making that smoothie already, but since I learned it from her, that's where I'm.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But pretty much what it is she says, you get a Vitamix blender or one of those nice big blenders, 75% greens, spinach, kale, whatever, a quarter cup to half a cup of chia seed, flaxseed, and it has to be the whole flaxseed. It can't be the ground stuff. Once it's ground, oxygen hits it, it oxidizes, it loses its properties, its beneficial properties. And then about 25% of fruit, just to make it palatable, because otherwise it's gonna taste like your lawn,
Well,
I wouldn't even eat that. It is so you do that, and that's pretty much the base smoothie that she uses to cure her patients. So I told Lee, I go, just drink that drink, and I remember I gave him the Ninja,
it was a bet. He had the bullet, and then
the bullet's not working, so I got him the Ninja because it was at Costco, and he started using that, and I said, just drink that in the morning, throughout the morning. And then after you finish it, in the afternoon, whenever you feel hungry, eat whatever you normally eat right now. Just eat less of it. Like if you're gonna go out to KFC or whatever, it's instead of eating the 3 pieces of chicken, maybe just eat one so you still get that flavor that you're looking for, but eat more. There's really nothing healthy there, but just eat something. Corn, I guess. Yeah.
And mashed potatoes.
So So he started doing it, and he said he did that for the month. He said that he felt great. So then he went from smoothies in the morning, just a small like a chicken Caesar salad or something at lunch, and then a smoothie at night.
Yeah.
And now since he started,
Dude, he lost so much weight.
he's lost. He was nearly. He had like 300 pounds. He lost like over 80 pounds already.
What, in less than how long? A year or 6 months?
A year.
So he's lost weight. He looks younger.
Yeah.
And like his confidence, as if
Through
he's
the roof, man.
way
Yeah,
different.
dude,
Like,
way
you just see, he just looks so much more confident.
Head up more.
Yeah.
Talks very verbose.
And more importantly is he's no longer diabetic.
Oh, really?
His cholesterol's back down to like, I think he told me it was like 140 or something like
Wow.
that. So his cholesterol's in check, like no high blood pressure, like all the important markers like
Mhm.
where they're supposed to be.
You saved his life,
Yeah.
basically. Then.
Well, I mean, he took it upon himself to
Yeah.
take it yet. I'm just like at this point, like I'm not gonna be able to give you all the details. I can tell you this study from this this year,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. But I'm more like the Google searching. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
you got diabetes? All right, go talk to Dr. Neil Barnard, or go look at Dr.
Yeah.
Neil Barnard, go look at Dr. McDougall. I'll point you in the right direction.
Mhm.
So if somebody tries to come and debate me like by facts or show me the studies, like, well, let me go look it up. I was like,
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's all I did with him is I just shared the information. Dude, just do it, and if you stick to it, you're gonna see the results.
Yeah, dude.
And now he's
That's great.
he went from sitting in the cubicle all day. Remember, you guys just sitting there all day, every day.
Walking.
To now he's walking every day, and he just showed me his Strava account today. Because he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I want to be able to run a mile. I'm like, you're gonna be able to run as many miles as you want. Just stick with it and do this program. I gave him the couch to 5K. It's an app that you go literally from your couch to a 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And he started walking. He's like, I don't think I could run it. I have to start walking. I just walk as much as your heart can, as much as you can take it. So he started walking. Then he's like, I think I'm ready to start jogging. I'm like, okay, we'll jog. Start off by you're walking, get the next light pole. Say I'm gonna jog to the light pole, and then walk. And once you feel ready, pick it up. I'm gonna run to the stop sign.
Mhm.
And that's what he did, just little by little, increasing.
Yeah.
And then he would tell me, he's like, if I can get down to like a 10, 30, 11-minute mile, I'm gonna be happy. I'm like, you're gonna blow that out of the water, dude. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep following the plan. And this morning he showed me that he did his 5K like in 29 minutes. So like his miles were like 940 something, 940.
God damn,
Dude, that's
dude,
awesome, dude.
We're faster all than us.
Yeah, dude. So he went from the lead that we knew in that cubicle to
Yeah.
now he did a 5K. Like,
Yeah.
Dude, that's
30
awesome,
minutes.
man.
So-
That's really awesome.
So to go from
And he's not even 100% plant based. Like I said,
Yeah.
he's still doing just the smoothies in the morning, the like sensible lunch with whatever he eats, and
Right.
the smoothie.
so let me just kind of an observation here. You went from talking about your childhood to rolling into sales, rolling to real estate, moving to Bakersfield, and talking about plant based, and all that.
Yeah.
But you seem to have you lit up so much more and smiled so much more when you started about just changing someone else's life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like now, do you feel that in that, and you didn't do that for any particular reason to like get gratitude for it? Like, are you just generally helping another person as a human being?
Yeah.
Being nice.
Like I mentioned earlier, it's like I just enjoy helping people.
Yeah.
I think that's why I got into real estate too. Part of it because once I got into real estate, I remember when my mom and my dad bought their house, the one that they still live right now in Fillmore. And I remember like just the excitement when they got the keys and moving in and getting all ready as first and moving and stuff. So I just seen that. I'm like, I want to give that to other people. It's just a good experience. It's a big experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be a part of it. That's what got me into real estate. And then with the nutrition, I just want to share it, man. It's like I want to share it with everybody. I started that Bakersfield Vegan Society on Facebook just to get the word out there. It's just like, and one of the another reason that I got really motivated, like to really go forward with it, is because with Bagels and Blender, I used to run with a group. And there used to be a gentleman there by the name of Vic Archegos, and at that time he was a. If you line this all up, told us all take off our shirt, you're like that guy's the healthiest one.
Healer man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite at that level, but he was there.
He was shredded.
So, and he was active every day. He would run with us, like, out there we used to run Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah.
But that guy was working out every day because like he worked at Cal State and he was an IT there. So he would run in the mornings, work out at lunch, and then at night he would take his dog out, like he would on his bike on roller blades. Every day, yeah. So So to us, you see that and you're like,
Yeah.
man, that guy's healthy. That guy's doing everything right. Well, he went out to do a fun run right here at the Bakersfield Track Club at Euclid Park. He went out to do his warm-up mile. He went out, came back. He was talking to some of his friends, and they said that his eyes just rolled back. He fell back and had a major heart attack and never came out of it. Wow. And I was like, man. But it was because, again, because of his diet. He said that his arteries were like over 80% clogged and stuff. So,
oh shit.
Wow. So I was like, and at that point, I had just got into veganism. Like I was not confident enough to defend myself or knew enough to kind of I mentioned it to him. I go, hey, you should try this. They're like, no, I need my meat, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay.
Yeah.
That's as far as I took it. But after that experience, I told myself, I go, you know what? I go, the information you had would have saved his life. To me, there is no doubt that if the day that I told him that, if he would have made the changes, he would still be here with us today. It's just like Lee. Lee was borderline. Like he just turned 50. He's gonna turn 55 next month, and he said that his dad passed away at this age. Like we're in his 54. So he tells me he's like man, if I wouldn't have learned all this stuff, there's no doubt that I would have been dead at the same age as my dad.
Crazy.
So I am fully convinced that this is the diet that we're designed to eat as a species, which is why when we go on this diet, it reverses all the harm that the other diet doesn't, puts us in.
And it's amazing what our body can withstand.
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff that we take down, we eat,
and that's one of the things that people say, like when they do make the switch, is like, man, it's like I thought it felt good, but now I know how bad I was feeling.
But then your body bounces back fast too when it starts doing that.
Yeah, once you start feeding it the stuff that is designed to eat and the nutrients, it just heals itself. It's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah. So then after you did the Ironman marathon, one thing I want to touch on is the fact that I don't want people listening here to be like, oh, I'm going to turn to juicing and I'm going to drop all this other weight, right? That's part of the story, right? Because you do have to do some form of exercise, right? I mean, because Lee, he walks like how many miles a day?
But he lost the bulk of his weight before he started walking.
Okay.
Yeah, so he lost the bulk of it, but then since he had lost the weight, he's like he felt good enough to go out and walk. He was
that took a lot of the weight took a lot of off his movement. I mean, that's what stopped him from being active.
Yeah. So once he lost the weight and he felt more mobile, then that's when he's like, I'm gonna start walking. And then once he started walking, then at that point he kind of hit a plateau, and then he started walking, and it kind of moved him along a lot faster.
Nice.
So once he was coming into the office every other week, he's like, hey, go buy other pants.
Yeah, put some more holes in there with the knife, the knife like that. So you're participating in like Ironman and different types of marathons. And if anybody's not familiar, kind of what an Ironman is, can you tell us what an Ironman is and kind of like what made you get into that? Like, cause I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I don't know if it was you or somebody. I can't know who it was, but my friend. And I was saying, it's like funny, but like as you're in your mid-30s, almost to late 30s, you start kind of wanting to switch over and be like, yeah, I'm going to try to do this, and let's do this, and let's be more active to really push myself and see if I still got it, So kind of what's an Ironman? What made you want to get involved in all this?
Right now, you just say that because it's funny that a lot of people do become like endurance athletes like in their 30s or beyond. And I don't know if it has to do something, when we're younger, it's all about getting a career, getting the ladies, and then, once we get there, we're like, all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's just work, working on home. There's no more excitement. So then we want to push ourselves and see like, well, how far can I take you? Start running. So then you start running races. So it just brings back that kind of, I guess, maybe a sense of masculinity. I'm not sure what it is, but I do notice that like 30s and 40s, a lot of people get into it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I did a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks. Never had an intention ever to do a marathon. People would ask me, they're like, hey, you do all this running when you do the marathon? I'm like, never. They're like, well, why not? You do all this running? I'm like, I just don't want to do a marathon. So then I got up to half a marathon.
Okay, so a 5K, 10K, and then what's a marathon?
So 5K is 3.1 miles.
Okay.
10K is 6.2.
Okay.
Half marathon is 13.1, and then the marathon is 26.2.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, I have no intention. I'm okay. 5K, 10Ks, they're over quick. They're hard because you're pushing the pace, but it's done and I'm out.
Yeah.
So I never had the intention. I did at that point. I did like 2 half marathons, which were still they were fine. They weren't like as difficult.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, like I said, like I mentioned slightly earlier, is that it wasn't only just a physical change; it was kind of like a spiritual and mental change that also happened. So like I just started having like a lot. I felt like I had somewhat more intuition than I had before, and maybe a connection or receiving messages or not messages like a telegram or something. It's weird. It's hard to explain. But at one point I was just sitting there and all of a sudden it's like somebody just like dropped in and like, you're gonna do an Ironman. And I was like, I'm gonna do an Ironman? And I'm like, let me do an Ironman. Let me see what an Ironman is. So I Googled it.
So what's an Ironman?
And I was all like, dang, dude, why am I getting the desire to do an Ironman? It's like, first of all, I never had an intention to do a marathon. Why would I do an Ironman? Because the Ironman, the full distance Ironman, it involves, it's a triathlon.
Okay.
So it involves 2.4 miles of swimming in open water, and then 112 miles on the bike, and then a marathon right afterwards.
How long?
26.2.
God.
So it's a total of 140.6 miles, I believe it is.
And what's the estimated time for like a beginner?
Well, they give you 17 hours to complete it. So
17 hours?
they give you 17 hours, but
Get out of here.
Damn.
Jesus Christ. My foot hurts again. I'm just sitting here.
I'm mentally exhausted just thinking about that. So
you can imagine, like, what I really didn't, like, I didn't know anything about it either, but I just, like, Googled it after I had that, like that I was going to do it. So I was like, I started, and every time I would watch it, like, my heart would start racing, and I'm like, why am I going to do this? And then at some point, I just started talking to people I was going to do. I'm doing Ironman. Ironman.
Accountability.
But I still didn't understand why that desire came. Because, like I said, I didn't even want to run a marathon, let alone 112 miles and a 2.4 mile swim before that. So, and then, so I kept asking him, like, why am I getting this desire? And then I watched the video, and I don't even remember what the video was about, but it was this gentleman that was talking to the camera. He was explaining something, and then at the very end, he says, "You have the power to change the world."
Mm.
And then that's when it clicked. I'm like, wow, I'm not going to be here and be as arrogant to say I'm going to change the world, but I can change the world for one person. Like, we're not, this Ironman thing is meant for me to complete it so I can help show people that you can be highly active on a plant-based diet. That you don't need me to like be strong and be athletic.
Mm-hmm.
So once I had my purpose, like all the nervousness, everything just went away. I just got to train, get ready for it.
That's awesome. So take me to let's just kind of run through the race. I'm interested because I know that when I run, and I'm talking about a mile or two on the treadmill, right? Or we go do 4.5, and to go from somebody who doesn't like sitting in a cubicle or staying and working on something like that, why there's a point where I'm assuming it's just you by yourself in your head.
Right. Yeah, that's a beauty. That's a nice thing that I found out about running. I think why I enjoyed it is because you're not up against anybody else. You're at a race, but in reality, at the end of the day, you're there pretty much racing yourself. Because unless you're an elite athlete that you're trying to get first place, right, that's a whole different level. But like for the average guy like myself, self-fulfillment, it's like you just go out there, and the thing with running is like I never ran before. So the first time I went out, we did 2 miles, like walking and jogging, and I felt like I got hit by a car. And I was like, wow. And I'm like, so it kind of like wakes something up inside you. It's like, okay, well, let me see if I can get better. So then you get better, and then all of a sudden you can run 2 miles without feeling that bad.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well, how much faster can I run those 2 miles? So then you start pushing it.
Yeah.
Well, can I go 2.5, 3 miles? Okay, well, I did that. Now can I do 4 miles? So it's a sport that allows you to keep pushing yourself, to keep like challenging yourself and keep seeing progress. Because I think a lot of the times too is like when you go to the gym and you're working out and you're not seeing any progress, it's discouraging. But when you're running and you run a mile, 10.5 minutes, and then you keep doing it, like how he's doing it. Right now, he's super pumped because he didn't believe he could do that, but he's doing it. So now he's training harder and harder. So that's what I think what's with running and why people get hooked on it, because you can see the improvements and you can get faster. You sign up for a half marathon and then you get your set point. Now let me go try to beat that. Can I beat it? Can I get faster than that? Can I get faster? So it's like a challenge to oneself, and it's something that you can see progression, which I think is why. Then you get the runner's high. You're out there, by yourself.
Yeah, what are you thinking about the whole time? During that time you're swimming, during that time you're running, during that time you're biking. Like, what goes on in your, like, what do you think about? Do you zen out? I mean, do you feel like this is my purpose? Like, how do you keep going? Like, you're like, yo, I gotta give up. Was there points you wanted to give up? I mean, like, did it hurt? Like, you remember saying something about your splints, right? Like, like that at one time?
I'll get into that, but I think for me, what helps is I run outdoors. I'll struggle to run 2 miles on a treadmill.
Okay.
I guess it's that stationary thing with me, that it's just, I get bored. I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you run outdoors, if you run out 1.5 miles, well, guess what?
Come back.
You gotta come back. Yeah, you're right.
So you got no choice. So if you're training 10 miles, or you run out 5 miles, what else you do? Run back, right? So, but out there in the races, in the longer distances, like the 50 miles, you have a lot of time to self-reflect. So it's almost like a meditative thing.
Mm.
And actually meditation and possibly running and all this longer endurance is what's helped me like reach the epiphanies later on in my life. So that's helped me, just recently, like as of 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago when we went to that trip.
Yeah.
But you just think of a lot of different things, man. You just get lost in your own little world. Just think a lot about like, just life, politics, religion, just family, like.
Just something to distract you from the pain you pretty much put your body through.
When you completed it, did you look back at it and say it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, or you're like, holy shit, this was as much as I thought it was going to be? Like,
could I have done better or trained this?
You always feel anybody that does races, like at the very end. Well, actually, there's only one race that I did where I was like, all right, I'm cool. I did good. Because every time you finish, you're like, oh, what if I would have went one more time a hard part?
Yeah.
What if I would have done sex training? What if I wouldn't ate that? What if I would have drank that day? So you always have these what ifs.
Yeah.
The only race that I've done that I felt like I'm like, that's good. I'll still try to improve, but I'm happy with this race. Was this last half marathon I did in Avenue of the Giants.
Mm. I
trained for it. Like, my goal was to break an hour 30 minutes. If I need to get an hour 30, even if it's an hour 29:59. It's like I don't care. I just want to get under 130. And I was able to finish it at 128.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow.
So I was like super happy with that. Like I got done with that one. I was like, I'm cool, man. I'm good. I was like, I go happy with that race.
Yeah.
But the Ironman, what got me through that because I did all the training. The swimming went according to plan. I did it in the time I was going to do it. The cycling went according to plan, just within minutes of what my goal was. And then the running, I started running the running leg of it, and 5 miles in, 6 miles in, both my knees just blow out, man. It just they go out.
Oh shoot.
I don't know what I never felt that extreme pain. It was just like I've never felt pain like that. I was just like, what the heck, man? So I just started like questioning them. Should I keep going? What if I hurt myself more? And then the thing that helped is I had my boys there. So I said, okay, you have two options. You could either quit now just because it hurts and walk up behind your kids, tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, your dad didn't finish. Or you could keep going. You have 17 hours. You have until midnight.
5 miles into a 26-mile run.
Oh. So I was thinking about you got 20 miles to go. So you can walk them, jog them, whatever, crawl them, whatever you got to do is keep going until they take you out in the gurney, the ambulance. So those were my two choices. I said, well, I definitely don't want to leave anything on the table on this race.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want to go and tap my kids on the shoulder and be like, hey, Dad, couldn't finish.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. If you get hurt, you get hurt. You have to be smart about it too. Throw in the towel if you have to. But at that point, I made the judgment call where I don't feel like I have to yet. When I'm limping and I can't walk, then that'll be a different story.
Yeah.
So I chose to see him even though I had to walk through the finish line. So I just kept going, and like every station, I was like, hey, can I ibuprofen? No.
That's
and the cool thing about the Ironmans though is that like all the spectators and the volunteers are like awesome, dude. So they give you a bib the bib is your number with your name on it. So you're running and strangers are like, oh, hey, go Eduardo, and you're like, so it's really motivating. So that's cool. And then also what motivated me at one point, I remember I was just like bent over, just rubbing my knees, and I was just like cussing through my teeth. And I was like, fuck shit. And I'm like, why, dude? All the hours, a year of training, all the hours, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why? I was just questioning. And all of a sudden, I just hear like clink, 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 clink. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I can look over, a lady with two prosthetic legs.
Damn.
Oh, that's it.
And I was like, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm good, man. It's like there's no way I'm not, complaining.
I'll give you some of those. But.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, all right, man, just keep going. And I was able to finish it.
Jeez, man, that's
2
awesome.
Knees,
Dude.
21 miles, 2 busted knees. That is
over 5 hours
dude.
to do that marathon.
Wow.
So
wow, it's kind of like what it's like whenever you. Like when you read like these quotes or these books, or like there's that defining moment where you got to push yourself, like that coming to God, like you're like, yo, I gotta go, like I gotta do this.
Right.
Like I almost, and it's weird, like just recently the past couple months, I almost just want to have that moment, like where it's like I want to just have it pushed to where it's like, can I push through it? Like you know what I mean? I feel like it just takes you to a whole
the David Goggins moment.
Yeah, David Goggins is holy shit, dude. That dude's a savage. Like that, that Goggins, like I just grab it, just grab your balls and just keep moving.
I actually used him or take him through some of my runs. So, like I did the Ray Miller. The funny thing, I don't know if you guys listen to Law of Attraction and all that stuff. And all that, but there's a couple of like big people that I follow in the plant-based community. The first one is Rich Roll. He has a huge podcast. And there's Scott Jurek. He's like another plant-based endurance runner. He won the Western States 100-mile race 7 years in a row.
Wow!
As a plant-based athlete. So 100 miles.
Was that ultra? Isn't that which was?
That's an ultra marathon. Anything over 26.2 miles, even 27 miles, is considered ultra.
Oh, okay.
So anything over.
I heard that from David Goggins. Sorry. Ultra marathon. That's a shit on yourself marathon right there.
So 100 miles. So like I take all these these personalities and what I would use is it's like obviously I'm not in their league because those guys are like elite athletes. But still in my mind, your mind doesn't only believes or knows what you tell it to believe. So if you tell yourself a lie over and over, you're gonna believe the lie, right?
Yeah.
So when I was out there and I was hurting when I was training for the 50 miles, I would take those personalities into my head and be like, you are the likes of Rich Roll, you are the likes of Scott Jurek, you are an ultra endurance athlete. And that would just pump me up to keep going, Yeah. And then when I was really hurting, it's like David Goggins, like you're only 40% of your potential. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Then I got John Joseph on the other side. He's like, your Mama Luke.
Dude, John Joseph is savage, man. You put me on John Joseph. Then I heard him on Joe Rogan. Yeah, that dude. I did something else. All them guys.
I actually sent him a message and he replied.
That was bad.
I was tripping out. I just threw it out there because they're somewhat celebrities. Or they have a lot of followers. So it's probably gonna get lost in there. But I remember I was going through some hard times with someone. I was like, hey, dude, blah blah blah, because I just knowing his history, where he came from. And then so I messaged from John Joseph and he replied. And stuff,
that was awesome.
I was like, oh crap, dude, dude. He said something to the effect of pull your head out of your ass.
Something simple. Get your shit together.
But anyhow, I use those and I bring up the law of attraction just to little side story because it was pretty neat actually. Yeah. So I use that mantra right to get through the races, and then I was out there Ray Miller. It took me 11 hours to finish the 50 miles. And there's some points where you're just like, you want to give up, man. Because especially that one, there's one point where they had a 50K, and there was a turning point. So you go back this way, you do 50K, which is like 30 some miles, or you make a left and you complete the 50 miles. Mm-hmm. And I got to that point, and I was like, I seriously thought about like cutting down just because I was hurting, Mm-hmm. But I just started doing that mantra, you are the likes of Rich Roll, you are the likes of Scott Jurek. It's like 40% of your pain, you still got it. Mm-hmm. So I kept doing that. And then that following week, my buddy Sal, coincidentally, like my first vegan friend, he's actually a past client, and we became friends. Mm-hmm. He hit me up. He's like, "Hey, dude, he's out there the screening for the Ground Up, the film. It's a plant-based athlete film. He's like, it's gonna be in LA. He's like, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He's like, all right, I'll get the tickets. So we went out there to check out the screening and stuff, and it was like in North Hollywood. And we're sitting there, right? And first of all, I didn't even know I was sitting to that. I think her name is Heather. I can't remember her last name, but we were sitting right next to like a UFC fighter, too, like a girl fighter. And so at that point, I didn't realize, she's just chilling there. We were in the lobby, and then all of a sudden, like I just see like this Mini Cooper roll up with a Rich Roll. Like crosses it out the window, and I'm like, holy fuck, this Rich Roll, dude. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. So at that point, I told Sam, just go get our seats before the thing fills up. So we got our seats, and then like once I'm sitting there, just getting ready for the show to start. Who walks in? It's Scott Jurek. Oh shit! He sits like right there where you're at, like in a theater, like right next row. He's sitting right there. Who walks in next? Like, Rich Roll and his wife Julie, and they go sit like in the following row. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, I cannot believe that my mantra was Scott Jurek and Rich Roll, and now I'm sitting here in the arena or like a movie theater. Yeah. With these two legends, dude. It was pretty like unbelievable, surreal. Yeah. Dang, that was pretty cool. They got to meet also like some other ones. I got to meet Matt Danzig, the UFC fighter, and Tori Washington. He's a Instagram personality bodybuilder, also like 100% plant based and stuff. So yeah, that was a cool experience. Dang, that's awesome, man. Yeah,
it all came full circle for you.
That's awesome, it did. Man. But I know you brought up really quick. If you want me to explain that story about my friend and how because I'm not the type that is like, you know, I start something and I'm like I got all this willpower. Like I'm nothing special. You know, it's like I said, I was an average high student. Because, you know, some people are probably saying, it's like, well, how did this guy just go from, you know, eating all this meat to 100%? How did he do it? So the way I did it, and I used, you know, some of like what I've learned in the past from self-help books, Tony Robbins psychology, and what he says is that there's two motivating factors to all human behavior. So it's the desire to gain pleasure, and the absolute desire to avoid pain. So in our heads, there's those scales, pain and pleasure. Mm-hmm. So every decision that we make in our life is based off those little scales. You know, it's like, I got to get up at 4 in the morning to go to work. It's like, yeah, you know, it'd be a lot more pleasurable to stay in bed. You know, that's your lady. It's nice and warm, especially middle of February out here. So you would say, like, well, there's more pleasure in that. So I don't understand what you're saying. You know, it's like, I would rather stay home. It's like, yeah, that's true at that moment. But we know that if you do stay home for 1, 2, 3 days, 4 days, you're going to get fired. Mm-hmm. What happens if you get fired? You don't have money for your payments, you know, your house payment, car payment, you have money for food, you know, so it could cause a divorce and potentially, you know. Mm-hmm. So even though there's some pleasure like in staying at home at that moment versus going out and getting up for work, in our minds, we know that in the long term it'd be a lot more painful to stay home and obviously not go to work, right? Yeah. So I just used that lesson and I applied it with everything that I learned about food. And knowing that if I continue to eat these foods, it's gonna take me to an early grave, then I just started using the pain versus pleasure. And that's where the story about my friend's dad that passed away, I had the experience of watching my friend's dad literally pass away right in front of me. I was standing at the door of the hospital and I was looking in and he passed away at a young age, like his early 50s. And he died of cirrhosis of the liver. Oh, wow. So, and he's never really like told me too much personal stuff, you know, so I can't speak to what got him there, but usually that's like lifestyle choices. You know?
Just seeing the lifestyle.
Yeah. That'll kind of like cut your life short. So to me, when I started making the change, it's like I would literally, like once I knew that, and I'm, like I said, I was convinced that if I continue to eat these foods, it's going to take me to an early grave. Yeah. Right. So then I just remembered that scenario where I was like, what if I was like in that bed and my kids were crying over me. Yeah. My wife is crying over me, saying like, I don't know what I'm gonna do without you. And knowing how am I gonna feel at that point, knowing that I didn't have to do that, but I was there just because I wanted to eat hamburgers, because I wanted to eat steaks, because I wanted to continue the status quo that we need milk to be healthy.
You wanted the pleasure.
Yeah. So in other words, what I did is I applied real massive pain to those foods. Yeah. So once you do that, once you understand that those foods are generally bad for you, and they do have the true potential to shorten your life, get rid of you prematurely, so once you make that connection, I just utilize that negative experience to see my friends to help me make the conversion. So anytime I would see a steak and I would start craving it, I wouldn't see it as a juicy steak that smells good and tastes good. I would see it as like, that's heart disease, that's cancer, that's diabetes, that's my kids crying around my bed about me dying at an early age. I'm gonna put them through a bunch of pain just because I want to enjoy the steak. Well, that's not worth it. Yeah. So eventually, like you just do that over and over and over, and it works for anything. Like I said, and he points that out that the whole die in front of diet thing it got it from him. He says he's like, yeah, that's why diets don't work out. It's because you apply a lot of negativity to dieting. And that's what he says. All the first 3 words are die. You start off there, and then what else do you tell yourself? I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I'm going to restrict myself. I'm sacrificing this. Those are all words that have like negative connotations to you. So that's why diets don't work, because even though you subconsciously or you kind of superficially say it's for a positive thing, like fitting into the dress, you're also applying massive pain to giving up all the foods that you like. Right. So automatically, subconsciously, is like, we're not going to go for that. Your mind is like, we're not going for that.
So it's just like
the light tail is in my eye or there.
So it's all about perspective then, right? Because some might see a diet. Oh, I'm going to diet. I'm going to limit what I eat. Yeah. I'm going to take my diet and be like, oh man, I have to give this up. So it's just about making just that little switch.
Switch of words, and more importantly, your reason why. Like how you're saying, if it's something superficial, like I need to get into a dress, you might get into a dress, but it's not gonna last.
No.
You're gonna go back.
You're dealing with the up and down of your emotions.
Yeah,
but if you look into it and you really educate yourself as to what foods do for you, and like you convince yourself, you see that it's okay. I understand this,
Yeah.
So now your why is a lot more important because now your why is not just to wait; it's to be around for your kids, and not just to be around for your kids, but
should be active.
Yeah, to be active. Like let's use Lee. Sorry, Lee. I'm using an example.
Yeah.
But like let's say Lee was a grandfather. What grandfather do you think his grandkids would want to have? The one that was just in the cubicle that can't get around too well. That's like just there.
Yeah.
Or the Lee now that can like get up and take it to the beach, take it to the park, run around with them, probably outrun the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it and you got to make it into those perspectives. It's like at the end of the day, which lifestyle is going to bring you more joy? These foods right now, instant gratification, or living a healthier, longer, productive life.
Yeah.
So once you give it more meaning and your reason why is a more solid reason, then I think it's easier to stick with lifestyle changes.
Do you, and we're coming up almost close to 2 hours, but goes by fast. See, I told you, man, they go fast.
Yeah.
A couple things, one would be, where are you at spiritually? I mean, I don't mean however you want to take this. Yeah, however you want to take this, but I think a common thing I'm hearing you say is, there's almost like not like a zen, but like just a calmness, and then just the way you analyze things, and then your epiphany and stuff, kind of like in this at your age, kind of where you're at now, because I try to learn from others, and then because I know I'm gonna be at that point, and I know where I'm at 36, and the stuff that I've been going through and trying to, in a sense, find myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's been such an amazing journey, just trying to figure out who I am, and then being at a different place than I thought my life was going to be at. Right. And now forgetting all of that, but so much of a happier place I ever believe I would ever be. You know what I mean? And where are you at with that? Like, how does that work, and what's your epiphany and everything?
Well, for me, it's like I think a lot has to do with the time that you spend alone, because when you're around, a lot of either electronics, on your phone, you're always distracted.
Right.
You're out with your friends, you're obviously there with your friends and stuff. But when you spend time alone, like you have a lot of time to think and stuff like that.
What do they say? Man's biggest problem is his inability to sit in a room by himself.
By himself, you have to be alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that the more time we spend by ourselves, the easier it gets. And it's not like you gotta go disappear for days, but if you incorporate like meditation, that's a great way to get into it as well. It's like you don't have to go run 10 miles. You can sit in your living room for 10 minutes, in the morning, 10 minutes at night, where you just completely sit silent. And it's, I know it's kind of taboo, especially like in the Catholic religion, because I remember as a kid, well, first of all, like going way back then, it's like we were growing up Catholics, and everything they would teach, I just remember saying as a kid, I'm like, none of this makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, and I always had questions.
Yeah.
I was always that why kid. I guess at some point I would get annoyed to some people because I'm like, well, why is that? Well, why is that? Well, what is this? What is it? Always having questions. Mm-hmm. So that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I never really had like belong to a religion or anything, but I always kind of felt that there was something out there, so there's something that was going to guide us and create or co-create with us, our experiences. So I guess subconsciously I always longed for it, looking for it. I went through all stages, from believing in that to like almost like atheist to all full circle again, like believing there's like an entity out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So getting into meditation, that truly helped me a lot, just to be able to help like just calm your thoughts. And I think when your thoughts are calm, is you open yourself to receive more information or messages. Mm-hmm. I think I gave you the example that. I don't know if you guys remember like the old game shows where they would put somebody in a plastic tube with a fan, and then they turn on and there's dollars flying everywhere, and you try to grab dollars. So I think I visualize our minds being that way, where that fan is on, our thoughts are like going everywhere, going crazy. And what meditation does is it turns that fan off. All your ideas, all your thoughts, all the money falls on the floor, and it's easier to get everything organized. Everything's in control. You're in control again, So I believe that's what meditation has done for me. And like I said, once you get into that space where your mind is calm and you don't have all that chaos, then the answers that you've been asking for, they'll come to you in one way or another. And I'm not saying that they just pop into me like that. But like I said, it's like at that point when I had that epiphany, it's like I always was wondering, I'm like, well, why why am I struggling with work? It's like, why is work always a struggle to me? It's like, because I would get busy, do real well, and then things would slow down. It's kind of like I would get to a certain level, and then I would get dropped back down. And I never understood it. I kept thinking about why is this? Why is this? And meditated on it. And then that morning, just like it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, dang, that's what it is.
You want to share with us?
Yeah.
I've been waiting the whole hour, ever since you dropped that little seed in there. I'm all, what is it?
And to me, it turns out that I discovered that I have a spiteful personality.
Okay.
Or I could be spiteful. I guess anything could, but in this case, I would be that. And what I realized that morning is that when I was a kid, remember I was struggling with my dad because he was all about school, and I was kind of like, and I think the more he pushed me to it, the more I pushed back.
Mm.
And he said a lot of things to make me understood that like if I didn't do that, then I wasn't gonna get his love.
Okay.
So, but the way I took it is, it's like, okay, well, in order for me to earn your love or attention, I have to do this. Well, screw you, I don't want to do that. It's like you should just let me just be.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did, but and learning my dad's story in the past, like, and I think he did like a great job with this and stuff based on like how he grew up, his history. So, and that's another thing I realized later in my life. So, but at that time when you're hearing that as a kid, he's trying to do his best to try to get a message to the media by his means.
Right.
But the way I interpreted it was, I was like, okay, well, you're gonna do that, or you're gonna let me only like get a good raise, and I don't want to get school. I don't care about school. So on top of being distracted and everything, now I'm spiteful, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't want to be a dropout. So I would do just enough to get through, but not enough to give him the gratification, like what he wants, and to earn his love that way, or his attention. Right. So I realized that I'm like, oh crap, it's like I realized that, and then like I immediately like associated it like to the future right now, my presence with my relationship with my wife, and why I'm struggling. And the thing is, you had asked me about real estate and when we went through the uprise and then the hard crash. Well, during that time, it was super stressful for us because we had barely had our two boys. They were like, they're babies. And then income pretty much just ceased to exist for me. It's like there was a time there where it's like nothing was coming in. So that created like a lot of stress to me. And I think I got somewhat like traumatized for it. And obviously it stresses out the relationship,
Yeah.
And not to say like I'm not saying I'm interpreting it correctly or that's the way she intended it, because you always know there's always like his story, her story, the truth is in the middle. So, but the way I started seeing it again, I started like I didn't realize I was doing this, but when finally a check would come in, then my wife would be like, "Oh, honey, blah blah blah."
So she
would show me, and I was like, "Okay, well, what about all these other days? How come I'm not like being so affectionate?" And then I guess like subconsciously I caught on to it. Again, I'm not saying she did it on purpose. She probably didn't even realize. Maybe she's genuinely being happy because we got a check from her. It's like there's nothing wrong with it. But I think my bad was that I associated again, and I was like, "Oh, so you're only gonna love me when I bring in money?" So I'm like, "Well, all right." And again, I don't want to lose my house, so I'm gonna bring up enough money just to pay off our bills, to do everything, and that's that. And I was like, holy crap, man. Like, well, all these freaking years, I've been self-sabotaging myself. I've been putting this steering cap on this. Nobody else's fault. Yeah, right. But I finally realized what it was. And once I realized what it was, I was able to work on forgiveness and letting it go. Yeah. That now it's like, knock on wood, it's like, everything's just flowing like never before. It's just like, everything's good. Dude. Natural, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
It feels good.
Above above what I was doing before and everything. It's just like it feels like that last thing just got shattered.
So you got out of your own way, and once that, then it was the universe just started. Yeah. Here you go.
There you go.
That's awesome. No, and I appreciate you sharing that, man. Because that means a lot to me, because I totally associate with what you're saying. Like there's that glass ceiling. You've always been in that box, and you want to burst through. And a lot of times I feel that we're doing things because we feel it's from something subconsciously that we didn't know was pressed upon us until you kind of realize, like, that's really my goals. Like,
whose life am I living? Like,
exactly. We talk about that all the time. Whose freaking life am I living? This wasn't what I wanted.
Right.
I heard it and I associated, well, I had to learn it from someone else. That's how you learn the fastest way. But then my biggest gripe all the time was like, when you read a book for most of these people that are talking about success, it's like they tell you the shitty story, they tell you the end, but they don't tell you all the shit that you're going in the middle, right? And you're like, and that's kind of like you're in the middle of your story right now, where you're like, is this my story that I want to write? Because I can turn the chapter and I need to write something new. Right.
And by no means you take this at like I'm there and I've reached it, because I'm still learning. I still struggle. You know, I still fall off the wagons, like with training, the meditation, everything. But you know, once you understand it, it's a lot easier to pick up where you left off and just continue to grow.
Right.
Because everybody's gonna get derailed. And
you can't always be happy. You can't always be. You have to fall off.
You can't beat yourself up over that either. You must just understand it. I slipped off the rails a little bit. Let's get back on track and keep going.
And that's why you know, my thing was I want to bring people, and we've always wanted to bring people, because like I said, we just want it to be somebody who goes through the same thing I think that a lot of us go through. You know, when we're younger, we're taught to suck up our feelings. We're told be a man, or you know, just really push it all down. Dig that deep down. Don't ever pull it back up again. I'm gonna go do that, Ricky. You know, but in reality, you know, like, you have to talk to people, man. Like, it's okay it's okay to know that when it's time to be sad, it's time to be sad. It's okay to know that when it's failing, it's failing. But it's like how quick you get back up and how quick you're gonna push through. How, you know, are you gonna walk off and tap your kids on the shoulder and say, yeah, you know, I gave it my best, but right now I gotta tap out? Or do you just keep pushing through? You know, and everybody's that epiphany you couldn't have had any other time in your life. No, that shit had to happen for you to have it at that moment in your life. Just the same way you have yours, and the same way I do. So, anything that you want to, you know, and I said that, you know, we're all work in progress and we're all transitioning, but is there anything that you want to share with anybody that's going to be on the podcast that you feel are some current life takeaways that you just a bit of advice for anybody if they're struggling in the middle of anything, or they want to just, you know, something that you feel that you just need to pass on as information to anybody?
Well, my biggest thing is, because you kept mentioning earlier, you brought up a couple of times, living in the moment. And I think that's just kind of like overlooked a lot. A lot of people probably say it, but we don't really put it into practice.
Yeah.
Right. So again, going back into however hectic your life, you think your life is, or no matter if you don't think you have time or whatever the case is, it's like you have to take time for yourself.
Yeah.
You have to have a time to disconnect from everybody, from your kids, from your spouse, from work. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them, but it's like, you know, we got to take care of ourselves before we take care of somebody else. It's like what's the saying? You can't
the plane with the mask.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
You gotta work on yourself. So my biggest thing that I've learned, what's helped me the most, is either, like, if you do pick up a sport, you know, that'd be great, you know, so that you can go out there and get healthy. Either whether you go for a walk, go for a swim, go for a bike ride, but you know, go by yourself. Or if that's out of the question and that's not what you're into, just pick up meditation. Take time just to self-reflect because as long as you're living that chaotic life and you don't take the time out, the answers and the prayers that you're seeking are going to have a much harder time getting in, because you won't be able to recognize it because of all the static, all the noise.
Yeah.
So my biggest takeaway would be just take time for yourself, take time to meditate, walk in the park, find something that you like to do, and just do it.
I would say enjoy the free things that are given to us.
Yeah.
Which is like just being outside.
Yeah. And the big thing too, man, turn off the phone, dude. I think that's what I was thinking on the road here. I go, man, this past like a month or two, like I just been real heavy on Instagram, on YouTube. Yeah. You just get lost in that little device, man. It's horrible, dude.
Yeah.
So
it's like a wormhole. You go down there, and then how many times you're on YouTube or Instagram? Oh, okay.
And then they keep playing those related videos. You're like, one more.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we sign up for the Spartan. All I see is nothing but Spartan ads. Facebook, yes, get this, and we're like, okay, we get it. We're doing it. But yeah, man. Dude, we're coming up on 2 hours.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of. I think we'll end it, man. I think this is for our first guest that we brought, and you know, man, Mr. Farfan, I felt like I learned more about you. That, you know, on top of what I knew, man, and I appreciate you sharing your story and going deep and giving us any bit of advice and just sharing with our community of watchers and you know, where can they follow you at?
You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's the Vegan Realtor with underscores in between. So the _vegan_realtor.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram is where I'm mostly active.
Okay.
On Facebook, if you want to learn more about the plant-based community, vegan community, I do have the Bakersfield Vegan Society page. So if you look it up, you could request to be friends on there. And that's not to pass judgments, not to like force anything upon anybody. It's just to share information of local restaurants where there's vegan options. I like to post some articles like that help with the health and stuff like that. And other people share like recipes and ideas and stuff like that. Just in case you want to like make a move, a transition. This is what I tell everybody. I go all meat eater and 100% raw, whole food plant-based over here. The closer you get to this side, the better off you're gonna be. Even if you never reach 100%, the closer you are over here, the better you're gonna be. Yeah. So if you want to get ideas like on recipes, stuff like that, or ideas of where to eat around town, like where you if the family wants to go eat pizza, well, try Vegan Shore Pizza Company. They got a vegan option there. Yeah. So it's still junk food, but it's a little bit better. So
and guys, what we'll do is we'll put that in on the YouTube page, and even on the I think we do it on the podcast platform too. We'll put some where you can follow him at, and then also to the group if you have any questions and you want to just kind of learn a little bit more. And then Mr. Ariano, you have anything you want to say? Departing?
I just want to say thanks, man, because I mean, there's a lot of people that need to hear that one being vegan isn't. It's not something that you do overnight. It's something that slowly you progress and you look into it for that self-fulfillment, filling your own cup. That I think a lot of people out there are just trying to figure themselves out right now, and they're like, well, I don't know what to do, and you stayed your own course by your own means. And the best thing, man, and Gary could probably attest to this, the best thing about you, man, is you don't force feed it down anybody's throat. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's what sets you apart from everyone that I've known that's been being, oh man, that's crap. Why would you eat that? You're killing yourself, you don't pass judgment. And I think that's what makes you such a good human being for that, because people are going to relate to something like that. Like you catch bees easier with honey. No vegan pun intended. But I'm just saying is that's, thank you so much for coming, man, and sharing with knowledge and everything, man.
Thanks for sharing.
Inspiration, brother.
Thank you guys for having me. And just to touch base, the last point on that is I learned from John Joseph. Is you probably heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. Is where he says it's like you have to fan the spark. You can't blow it out. It's like you got to help people. You got to see where they're at and just help them go from there. It's like you can't be judgmental and stuff. So that whole thing about not being pushy, like a lot of it I learned from him. It's like it's true. You have more success that way. Just help people. You might help people, but make them feel better.
All right, man. That's it. Good one, guys. Episode 17. Thanks for watching. Follow us.
Subscribe.
Have a good one. Gee, man.